Ryan Young stares at the two malnourished celiac girls huddled in the corner, his heart racing as he realizes he's about to upend his life for these alien orphans. The diplomat reception hall buzzes with the clicks and chirps of insectoid communication, a constant reminder that he's light years from home on the alien world of Sheliakos. The celiac diplomats eye Ryan with undisguised contempt. Their compound eyes gleam under the harsh lighting, mandibles twitching in what he's learned to recognize as amusement. To them, his interest in the outcast is a sign of human weakness, a fatal flaw in a species they barely tolerate. Ryan takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what comes next. He's 35 years old, a seasoned diplomat, but nothing in his training prepared him for this moment. The girls, Elva and Zira, he's learned, possess a rare genetic trait. It's this very trait that's made them pariahs among their own kind, but Ryan sees the potential. Their ability to interface with celiac technology could be the key to improving human-celiac relations. He approaches the pair slowly, aware of the growing silence in the room. The other human diplomats watch with a mix of curiosity and alarm. Ryan's superiors have warned him repeatedly not to interfere, but he can't turn away. Not now. "Greetings," he says in halting celiac, the complex sounds feeling alien in his human mouth. The girls flinch and used to being addressed directly. Their exoskeletons are dull, lacking the iridescent sheen of their well-fed counterparts. Ryan's heart aches at the sight. A celiac official steps forward, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Human Ryan Young, your misplaced compassion is noted. These defectives are not your concern." The translator in Ryan's ear provides the words, but the tone needs no interpretation. Ryan straightens, meeting the official's gaze. "I wish to petition for custody under the interspecies adoption program." The words come out steady, belying the turmoil in his gut. A ripple of surprise moves through the gathered diplomats, both human and celiac. Ryan's own superior, Ambassador Chun, steps forward with a warning look. "Ryan, think carefully about what you're doing. This could have serious repercussions." But Ryan has thought about it. He's thought of little else since he first laid eyes on Elva and Zira. The celiac leaders confer briefly, their rapid-fire communication incomprehensible to human ears. Finally, the lead diplomat turns back to Ryan. "We will grant your petition, human," the celiac says, mandibles twitching in what Ryan recognizes as cruel amusement. "However, there are conditions. You will raise these defectives alone, without support from your Earth or your colony. You will remain on Sheliakos for 5 standard years. Do you accept these terms?" Ryan feels the weight of every eye in the room. He knows what this means: exile, ostracism, ridicule. He'll be cut off from his own kind, left to raise 2 alien children who barely trust him. The human delegation is already backing away, distancing themselves from his actions. But when he looks at Elva and Zira, huddled and afraid, but with a spark of hope in their compound eyes, he knows his answer. "I accept," Ryan says firmly, sealing his fate and setting in motion events that will reshape the balance of power between humans and celiacs in ways he can't yet imagine. As murmurs of disbelief and derision fill the hall, Ryan takes a step toward his new daughters. He has no idea how he'll manage this, but he's determined to prove that humanity's strength lies in its compassion. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispers that Elva and Zira's unique abilities might just be the key to preventing a looming galactic conflict. The adventure of a lifetime is about to begin, and Ryan Young, the human male mocked by all, is at its center. As the murmurs in the reception hall faded, Ryan took another step towards Elva and Zira. The celiac girls shrank back, their compound eyes reflecting a mix of fear and curiosity. Ryan knelt down, careful to maintain a non-threatening posture. "It's okay," he said softly in celiac, the alien word still clumsy on his tongue. "I'm here to help you." The next few hours passed in a blur of paperwork and terse conversations with both human and Sheliak officials. Ryan's belongings were unceremoniously delivered to him in a small crate, a stark reminder of how quickly his life had changed. As night fell on Sheliakos, Ryan found himself standing outside a dilapidated structure on the outskirts of the capital city. Elva and Zira huddled close to him. The home, assigned to them by the Sheliak government, was little more than a shell. The walls were pitted and scarred, the roof sagging ominously. Ryan swallowed hard, realizing the magnitude of the challenge before him. Inside, the situation was even worse. The air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of decaying organic matter. Ryan's first priority was clear: make this place livable for his new charges. "Okay, girls," he said, forcing cheerfulness into his voice. "Let's see what we can do here." Over the next few days, Ryan worked tirelessly. He scavenged materials from the surrounding area, using his engineering background to jury-rig repairs. The roof was his first concern, and he spent hours patching holes and reinforcing weak spots. Elva and Zira watched him warily at first, chittering to each other in rapid Sheliak. Ryan caught words like strange and different, but chose not to comment. Instead, he focused on showing them through actions that they were safe with him. One afternoon, as Ryan struggled to fix a malfunctioning atmospheric regulator, he noticed Zira hovering nearby. Her antennae twitched with interest as she observed his work. Suddenly, she reached out with a slender appendage and touched a specific component. The regulator hummed to life. Ryan blinked in surprise. "Thank you, Zira," he said, his voice warm with genuine gratitude. The girl's mandibles clicked in what Ryan was beginning to recognize as a shy smile. It was a small moment, but it felt like a breakthrough. As the days turned into weeks, Ryan fell into a grueling routine. Each morning, he would trek to the distant markets, enduring hostile stares and inflated prices to procure the specialized nutrients Elva and Zira needed. The human colonists turned their backs when they saw him coming, fear of association evident in their averted gazes. Back at home, Ryan threw himself into studying Sheliak biology and culture. He pored over dense xenobiological texts, determined to understand every aspect of his adopted daughter's physiology. The girl's health was improving, but Ryan knew he needed to do more. Late one night, as Ryan tinkered with a crude interface device he'd been developing, a soft knock at the door startled him. He opened it cautiously to find a human woman standing there, her eyes darting nervously. "Dr. Kiran Patel." She introduced herself in a hushed voice. "I'm a xenobiologist. I've been watching your progress with the girls, and I want to help." Ryan's initial suspicion gave way to relief. Dr. Patel's expertise proved invaluable, providing insights into Sheliak developmental stages and nutritional needs that Ryan had been struggling to understand. With Dr. Patel's covert assistance, Ryan was able to create more effective tools and educational games for Elva and Zira. He fashioned eating utensils that accommodated their unique mouth structures and designed puzzles that stimulated their alien cognitive processes. The girls' progress was remarkable. Their exoskeletons regained their healthy iridescence, and they began to chirp and click with more confidence. Ryan's heart swelled with pride when Elva used the interface device he built to express her first coherent thought to him. Safe. Home. However, their peaceful existence was not to last. One morning, Ryan awoke to find crude symbols painted on their dwelling's exterior, Sheliak script that translated to defective and human-tainted. He scrubbed the words away before the girls could see them, his eyes sharp in silent fury. As Ryan worked to remove the last traces of the graffiti, he noticed a faint humming sound. Looking up, he spotted a small, sleek drone hovering at the edge of their property. Its design was unmistakably Sheliak, far more advanced than anything humans had developed. The drone zipped away as soon as Ryan noticed it, leaving him with a growing sense of unease. That night, as Elva and Zira slept in their carefully crafted healing pods, Ryan sat at his makeshift desk, poring over his notes. The girl's technological aptitude was developing at an astonishing rate. Just that afternoon, Zira had effortlessly repaired a complex celiac communication device that Ryan had been struggling with for days. As he reviewed his observations, a troubling pattern emerged. The girl's abilities seemed to go far beyond what was considered normal for celiac children their age. Ryan's mind raced with the implications. Was this why they had been outcasts? What did the celiac ruling caste know about their potential? A data file from Dr. Patel caught his eye. It contained fragmentary information about a secret celiac research facility, allegedly housing other children with similar defects. Ryan's heart raced as he read, a sick feeling growing in his stomach. He glanced at the sleeping forms of Elva and Zira, their mandibles twitching gently in sleep. In just a few short weeks, they had become his world. The thought of other children suffering, possibly experimented on, made his blood run cold. Ryan stood, pacing the small room. He was a diplomat, sworn to maintain peace between humans and celiacs. Investigating this facility could jeopardize everything: his position, the fragile interspecies relations, and most importantly, the safety of Elva and Zira. But as he watched his adopted daughters sleep, Ryan knew he couldn't ignore this information. Whatever the celiac were hiding, it was clear that children like Elva and Zira were at the center of it. He had to know more. With a heavy sigh, Ryan sat back down at his desk. He began to formulate a plan, knowing that his next actions could change everything. As the twin moons of Shaliakos rose outside, casting an eerie glow through the patched windows, Ryan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The mystery of the celiac facility loomed before him, a dangerous unknown in a world that was already fraught with peril. But as Ryan looked at Elva and Zira, he knew that for their sake, and for the sake of children like them, he had to find the truth. Truth. With a deep breath, he saved his notes and turned off the computer. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, he needed rest. As the first light of Shiliako's twin suns crept to the patched windows, Ryan awoke with a sense of purpose. He had barely slept, his mind racing with the implications of what he'd discovered. After ensuring Elva and Zira were still peacefully resting in their healing pods, he sent an encrypted message to Dr. Kiran Patel, requesting an urgent meeting. Hours later, in a secluded corner of a bustling celiac market, Ryan and Dr. Patel huddled together, their voices low. A secret research facility? Dr. Patel's eyes widened as Ryan explained his findings. That would explain the gaps in our knowledge of celiac genetic variations. Ryan nodded grimly. I can't ignore this, Kiran. There could be more children like Elva and Zira out there, possibly being experimented on. Dr. Patel's face hardened with willpower. I'll help you investigate. My access to celiac medical databases might prove useful. Over the next few weeks, Ryan and Dr. Patel worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of information. They discovered the facility's location in a remote, mountainous region of Shaliakos, heavily guarded and isolated from populated areas. At least a dozen young celiacs, Dr. Patel reported one evening, her voice tight with concern, all with genetic markers similar to Elva and Zira's. Ryan's fists clenched at his sides. We need to find a way to help them. As they delved deeper into their covert investigation, Ryan continued to care for Elva and Zira. The girls' progress astounded him daily. One afternoon, he watched in amazement as Zira effortlessly repaired a complex celiac communication device that had stumped him for days. Look, Ryan, Zira chirped excitedly, her mandibles clicking. I made it better. Ryan examined the device, his eyes widening as he realized Zira hadn't just repaired it. She'd improved its efficiency by at least 30%. He carefully documented the modification, his mind racing with the potential implications. Unbeknownst to Ryan, his probing into restricted celiac databases had triggered silent alarms. In a sleek, obsidian tower at the heart of the celiac capital, Commander Vex received an urgent communique. The human and his adopted defectives require closer observation, a high-ranking member of the ruling caste decreed. Assess the situation personally, Commander. Days later, as Ryan prepared the morning meal for Elva and Zira, a sharp knock at the door startled him. He opened it to find a tall, imposing Shiliak official standing before him. "Greetings, human Ryan Young." The Shiliak's mandibles clicked precisely. "I am Commander Vex. I am here to conduct a routine check on your adopted charges." Ryan's heart raced, but he maintained a calm exterior. "Of course, Commander. Please come in." As Vex entered, his compound eyes swept the modest dwelling, taking in every detail. Elva and Zira emerged from their room, their antennae twitching nervously at the sight of the high-ranking Shiliak. "Girls," Ryan said gently, "this is Commander Vex. He's here to see how you're doing." Vex observed the interaction closely, noting the evident trust between the human and the young Shiliaks. As he began asking routine questions, a sudden burst of static filled the room. The commander's communication device malfunctioned, emitting a harsh, grating noise. Before Ryan could react, Zira approached Vex, her eyes fixed on the device. "May I?" she asked softly. Intrigued, Vex handed her the communicator. With deft movements, Zira manipulated its internal components. Within moments, the static cleared, replaced by crystal-clear audio. But Zira didn't stop there. Her appendages moved in a blur, and suddenly, the device projected a holographic interface. "I added visual communication," Zira explained, her mandibles clicking shyly. Commander Vex stood motionless, his compound eyes fixed on the improved device. Ryan could almost see the calculations happening behind those alien eyes. The implications of what Zira had just done, effortlessly improving upon advanced Shiliak technology, were staggering. "Most impressive," Vex said finally, his voice carefully neutral. "You have done well with them, human Ryan Young." As Vex departed, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something momentous had just occurred. He was right. In the following days, the Shiliak ruling caste erupted into fierce debate over the future of Elva, Zira, and the other genetically unique children. Meanwhile, a new complication arose. Captain Marcus Holt, an emissary from the Human Colonial Administration, arrived at Ryan's door. "Mr. Young," Holt said, his smile not quite reaching his eyes, "we've been out of touch for too long. The administration is very interested in hearing about your progress with your adopted Shiliak children." As Ryan invited Captain Holt inside, he felt the weight of multiple worlds pressing down on his shoulders. He knew he stood at a crossroads, with the fate of Elva, Zira, and possibly the future of human-Shiliak relations hanging in the balance. The time for careful navigation was over. Soon, he would have to take decisive action. As he opened his mouth to respond to Captain Holt, a high-pitched whine filled the air. Ryan's eyes widened as he recognized the sound of Shiliak technology activating. The room plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the eerie glow of emergency lighting. Elva and Zira chirped in alarm as metal shutters slammed down over the windows with a deafening clang. "What's happening?" Captain Holt demanded, reaching for his sidearm. Ryan's mind raced. "It's a Shiliak defense system." But how? He stopped short, realization dawning. Elva and Zira's tinkering with the communication devices must have triggered a dormant security protocol. A holographic interface flickered to life in the center of the room, bathing them all in a pale blue light. Alien symbols scrolled across its surface at dizzying speeds. "We're locked in," Ryan said, his voice tight. "The system's designed to protect sensitive information." Captain Holt strode to the door, yanking fruitlessly at the handle. "Can you shut it off?" Ryan shook his head, then paused, looking at Elva and Zira. The girls stood transfixed by the holographic display, their antennae twitching in what Ryan recognized as intense concentration. "Maybe not me," he said slowly. "But they might be able to." Outside, the activation of the defense system sent shockwaves through both Sheliak and human command structures. Commander Vex, already en route to Ryan's residence, received an urgent update from his superiors. "The human dwelling has engaged full lockdown protocols," his second-in-command reported. "Our systems detect unauthorized access attempts to restricted databases." Vex's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Accelerate our approach. We must secure the defectives and the human before they access sensitive information." Back inside the house, Ryan guided Elva and Zira to the holographic interface. "Girls, I need you to focus. Can you understand what the system is saying?" Zira's appendages moved in a blur across the holographic surface. "It's complex, Ryan," she clicked softly, "but I think we can navigate it." Elva joined her sister, their movements perfectly synchronized. Ryan watched in awe as they interfaced with the Sheliak technology, their abilities complementing each other in ways he'd never seen before. As the girls worked, Ryan noticed new data streams appearing on the holographic display. His eyes widened as he recognized encrypted files detailing the Sheliak research facility. "Captain," Ryan called, his voice urgent, "you need to see this." Holt approached cautiously, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the alien text. "What am I looking at, young?" Ryan's fingers flew across the interface, decoding the information as fast as he could. "It's the truth about the facility, about why children like Elva and Zira were outcast. They're not defective, they're evolved." The files revealed a chilling reality. The Sheliak ruling caste had been suppressing a natural evolutionary leap in their species. The so-called defect was actually an adaptation that allowed for unprecedented technological integration. "They're afraid," Ryan murmured, his mind blown. "The ruling caste fears losing control. That's why they've been experimenting on these children." As Elva and Zira continued to work on deactivating the defense system, their efforts inadvertently broadcast the sensitive information across multiple Sheliak networks. The data spread like wildfire, reaching both dissident Sheliak groups and human intelligence operatives. Outside, the situation escalated rapidly. Commander Vex's team arrived, attempting to force entry into the lockdown dwelling. More Sheliak forces converged on the location, their presence drawing the attention of human colonial security. Inside, Ryan made a split-second decision. Using the girl's connection to the Sheliak systems, he established a direct communication link with Dr. Kiran Patel. "Kiran, I'm sending you everything we found," Ryan said urgently. "The Sheliak government, the experiments, all of it. We need to ensure this information can't be suppressed." Dr. Patel's voice crackled through the comm system. "Understood, Ryan. I'll make sure it reaches the right people. Be careful." As tensions rose outside, Elva and Zira finally succeeded in deactivating the defense system. The metal shutters retracted, and the door locks disengaged with a soft click. Ryan turned to Captain Holt, who stood with his hand on his weapon, conflict evident in his eyes. "Captain, you've seen the truth. What happens next will determine the future of human-Sheliak relations." Before Holt could respond, the door burst open. Commander Vex strode in, flanked by armed Sheliak guards, his compound eyes fixed on Elva and Zira. "Hand over the defectives," Vex demanded, his mandibles clicking menacingly. "They are property of the Sheliak government." Ryan stepped protectively in front of the girls, his heart pounding. "They're not property and they're not defective. You've been lying to your own people, Commander." Vex's antennae twitched in agitation. "You have no understanding of our ways, human. Stand aside or face the consequences." The standoff was interrupted by a commotion outside. A group of Sheliak dissidents, emboldened by the leaked information, pushed through the gathered forces. "We know the truth," their leader called out. "The children are the future of our species." Ryan found himself at the center of a rapidly escalating conflict. To one side stood Commander Vex and the forces of the Sheliak ruling caste. To the other, the dissidents offered protection and the promise of exposing the truth. And behind him, Captain Holt represented the human colonial interests, his loyalties visibly torn. Elva and Zira pressed close to Ryan, their alien features etched with fear and uncertainty. In that moment, Ryan knew his next decision would shape not only their future, but potentially the course of an entire species' evolution. Time seemed to slow as Ryan weighed his options. The air crackled with tension, and he could feel the weight of countless lives hanging on his choice. With a deep breath, he prepared to act, knowing that whatever he decided would irrevocably alter the delicate balance between humans and Sheliaks on this distant world. In that split second, Ryan made his choice. "Girls with me," he shouted, grabbing Elva and Zira's hands. He darted towards a group of Sheliak dissidents, who quickly formed a protective circle around them. "This way!" A female Sheliak named Kree urged, ushering them towards a waiting transport vehicle. Ryan's heart pounded as he lifted the girls into the vehicle, acutely aware of Commander Vex's enraged clicks behind them. The transport's door sealed shut, and they lurched forward, tires screeching against the pavement. "Hold on!" Kree called from the driver's seat as she expertly maneuvered through the chaotic streets of the Sheliak capital. Ryan peered out the window, watching Captain Holt struggle to maintain order among the human colonial security forces. The captain's conflicted expression was the last thing Ryan saw before they rounded a corner, plunging into a maze of narrow alleyways. "Where are we going?" Ryan asked, steadying Elva and Zira as the transport swerved sharply. Kree's compound eyes flickered in the rearview mirror. "To safety. We're part of the evolutionary front. We've been working underground for years, trying to expose the ruling caste lies." As they weaved through the city, Kree explained how Ryan's care of Elva and Zira had unintentionally accelerated their abilities, proving that the genetic defect was actually beneficial when nurtured properly. Suddenly, the transport rocked violently. Commander Vex's forces had caught up, their vehicles now in hot pursuit. "Elva, Zira," Ryan said, an idea forming. "Can you help us?" The girls nodded, their antennae twitching with purpose. They placed their appendages on the transport's control panel, their movements synchronized and purposeful. The vehicle's engine hummed with newfound power, and Kree gasped as the steering became more responsive. "Impossible," she clicked, executing a series of maneuvers that left their pursuers far behind. As they approached the city's outskirts, a new threat appeared. A Sheliak military vessel descended from the clouds, firing warning shots that scorched the road ahead. "We're trapped," Kree exclaimed, frantically searching for an escape route. Ryan's eyes darted around, his mind racing. Then he spotted a maintenance hatch in the road. "The tunnels!" he shouted. "We can lose them underground." Kree nodded, understanding immediately. "Girls, can you access the city's infrastructure systems?" Elva and Zira chirped in affirmation, their appendages dancing across the control panel. The maintenance hatch slid open just as they approached, and Kree drove the transport into the dark maw of the underground tunnel system. The passages twisted and turned, a labyrinth of metal and stone. Above them, they could hear the muffled sounds of chaos as their actions caused cascading disruptions in the city's infrastructure. "We're approaching the compound," Kree announced after what felt like hours of tense navigation. Just then, her communication device crackled to life. The message it conveyed chilled Ryan to his core. The ruling caste, in a final desperate move, had activated a doomsday protocol, a biological agent designed to eliminate all Sheliaks with the defective gene. "No!" Ryan breathed, looking at Elva and Zira. The gravity of the situation crashed over him. This was no longer just about protecting his adopted daughters. The fate of an entire species hung in the balance. As they emerged from the tunnels near the hidden compound, Ryan saw the silhouettes of approaching vehicles on the horizon. Friend or foe, he couldn't tell. "Kree," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "We need to stop that biological weapon. How much time do we have?" Kree's mandibles clicked nervously. "Not long, but we have a plan. The compound houses our most advanced research facilities. If we can get Elva and Zira there, their unique abilities might be the key to creating a countermeasure." The transport sped towards the compound, a nondescript building that belied its crucial importance. As they drew closer, the approaching vehicles came into sharper focus. Ryan recognized the sleek lines of Sheliak military transports, but also the bulkier shapes of human colonial vehicles. "Everyone's converging here," he muttered. "We need to hurry." They skidded to a stop outside the compound's entrance. Ryan helped Elva and Zira out of the transport, their antennae twitching with a mixture of fear and drive. "This way," Kree urged, leading them inside. "Our scientists are standing by." As they raced through the compound's corridors, Ryan could hear the growing commotion outside. The clash of Sheliak and human voices grew louder, punctuated by the whine of energy weapons. They burst into a large laboratory, filled with advanced equipment and wide-eyed Sheliak researchers. In the center stood a massive holographic interface, far more complex than anything Ryan had seen before. "Girls," Ryan said, kneeling beside Elva and Zira. "I know you're scared, but we need your help. Can you interface with the system? We need to find a way to stop the biological weapon." Elva and Zira looked at each other, then back at Ryan. They nodded in unison, their eyes shimmering with a mixture of fear and dedication. As the girls approached the holographic interface, Ryan turned to Kree. "How can I help?" Kree's compound eyes flickered towards the entrance. "We need to buy them time. The ruling caste, Commander Vex, Captain Holt, they'll all be trying to get in here. We must hold them off." Ryan nodded, his expression resolute. He could hear the sounds of conflict growing closer. Whatever happened next would determine the future of not just Elva and Zira, but of human-Sheliak relations and the evolutionary path of an entire species. As Elva and Zira began to interface with the system, their appendages moving in perfect synchronization, Ryan prepared himself for the fight of his life. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders, and time was running out. Out! A cacophony of sounds filled the air as Ryan steeled himself for what was to come. Suddenly, the compound's early warning system blared to life. Kree's eyes darted to a nearby monitor, her antennae twitching rapidly. "Multiple vehicles approaching from different directions," she clicked urgently. "We've got incoming." Ryan rushed to the monitor, his heart racing as he took in the scene. Through the compound's advanced surveillance system, he could make out the unmistakable silhouettes of Captain Holt's human colonial security forces approaching from one side, while Commander Vex's Sheliak military units closed in from another. "We're caught in a crossfire," Ryan muttered, his mind racing through their limited options. Kree's mandibles clicked nervously. "This way," she urged, gesturing towards a concealed entrance. "We have a hidden access point. It's our best chance." Without hesitation, Ryan scooped up Elva and Zira, following Kree as she led them through a series of winding corridors. The sounds of the approaching forces grew louder, spurring them to move faster. As they entered the compound proper, Ryan's eyes widened in amazement. The facility was a hive of activity, bustling with dozens of young Sheliaks who possessed abilities similar to Elva and Zira. Advanced Sheliak technology seamlessly integrated into every aspect of the compound, creating a dizzying array of holographic interfaces and pulsing energy conduits. "What is this place?" Ryan asked, setting the girls down as they paused to catch their breath. Before Kree could answer, a tall Sheliak with intricately patterned exoskeleton approached them. "I am Dr. Zarn, lead scientist of the Evolutionary Front. he introduced himself, his compound eyes flickering with a mixture of curiosity and urgency. "And I'm afraid we have a grave situation on our hands." Dr. Zarn led them to a central command area, where a massive holographic display showed a countdown timer. "The ruling caste has activated their biological weapon," he explained, his voice tight with tension. "It's set to be released via the planet's atmospheric control systems within hours." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. "What will it do?" "It's designed to target the specific genetic markers of our defective population," Dr. Zarn replied, his mandibles clicking in disgust at the term. "But its effects will be catastrophic for our entire species. Not only will it eliminate those with enhanced abilities, but it will also destabilize our population's genetic diversity. We're looking at potential species-wide sterility." The gravity of the situation hit Ryan like a physical blow. He looked at Elva and Zira, their alien features etched with fear and dedication. Suddenly, an idea began to form in his mind. What if we could use their abilities? Ryan suggested, gesturing to the girls and the other enhanced Sheliacs around them. If we combined their power, could we hack into the atmospheric control systems and neutralize the weapon before it's released? Dr. Zarn's antennae perked up, vibrating with excitement. It's possible, but it would require an unprecedented level of coordination and power. The security protocols on those systems are incredibly complex. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the compound. Cree rushed to a nearby console, her appendages flying over the controls. "Commander Vex's forces have breached our outer defenses," she reported grimly. "And Captain Holt's team has entered from another access point. We're surrounded." Ryan's mind raced, weighing their options. Time was running out, and they needed to act fast. "We need to split our efforts," he decided. "Cree, can you lead a group to defend the compound? Dr. Zarn and I will guide Elva and Zira in their attempt to hack the atmospheric controls." Cree nodded, her compound eyes glimmering with determination. "I'll gather our best defenders." "Good luck, Ryan." As Cree rushed off to organize the compound's defenses, Ryan turned to Elva and Zira. "Girls, I know this is scary, but we need your help. Are you ready?" The young Sheliacs chittered in affirmation, their antennae straightening with drive. Dr. Zarn led them to an advanced interface station, its holographic display pulsing with streams of alien data. "This will allow you to connect directly with our planetary systems," Dr. Zarn explained, helping the girls into position. "Focus your abilities and we'll guide you through the process." As Elva and Zira began to interface with the system, their appendages moving in perfect synchronization, the sounds of battle echoed through the compound. Explosions rocked the facility, and the shouts of both Sheliac and human voices could be heard growing closer. Ryan stood protectively near the girls, his eyes darting between the interface station and the sealed entrance to the control room. Dr. Zarn worked feverishly at a nearby console, his exoskeleton glistening with exertion as he guided Elva and Zira through the complex Sheliac security protocols. Suddenly, the entire compound shuddered and the lights flickered ominously. Ryan could hear the distinct sound of energy weapons discharging nearby. "They're getting closer," he muttered, his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon he no longer carried. Dr. Zarn's antennae twitched nervously. "We're making progress, but the ruling caste security measures are incredibly robust. It's taking longer than we anticipated." As if in response to their predicament, the facility's communication system crackled to life. Cree's voice, strained and urgent, filled the room. "Ryan, Dr. Zarn, we can't hold them off much longer. Commander Vex's forces are pushing through our defenses, and Captain Holt's team is converging on your position. Whatever you're going to do it fast." Ryan's heart pounded as he looked at Elva and Zira, their alien features contorted in concentration as they worked to break through the final layers of security. The fate of an entire species hung in the balance, and time was running out. The sound of heavy footsteps and energy discharges grew louder outside the control room. Ryan braced himself, knowing that their last line of defense was about to be breached. As the sealed door began to glow red from the heat of weapons fire, he silently urged the girls on, hoping against hope that they would succeed before it was too late. Too late. With a thunderous crash, the door burst open, revealing a chaotic scene of Sheliak and human forces locked in combat. In that moment of chaos, something extraordinary happened. Elva and Zira's antennae began to glow with an otherworldly light, their appendages moving at impossible speeds across the interface. The holographic display erupted in a dazzling array of colors and patterns. "They've done it!" Dr. Zarn exclaimed, his compound eyes widening in amazement. "They've breached the final security protocols." Ryan watched in awe as the girls worked in perfect synchronization, their enhanced abilities allowing them to navigate the complex Sheliak systems with unprecedented speed and precision. On the main screen, he could see the biological weapon's countdown timer flashing red, then suddenly freeze. "They're neutralizing the weapon," Dr. Zarn explained, his voice filled with both relief and excitement. "But they're doing more than that. They're altering its very nature." As the battle raged around them, Ryan made a split-second decision. He raced to the compound's communication array, pushing past the debris and ducking under energy blasts. With trembling hands, he activated the planet-wide broadcast system. "People of Shelia, humans and Sheliaks alike," Ryan began, his voice echoing across the facility and beyond. "What you're about to see is the truth, a truth that has been hidden from you by those in power." He aimed the camera at Elva and Zira, capturing their incredible feat as they rewrote the very code of the biological weapon. The broadcast showed their glowing antennae, their synchronized movements, and the complex data streams they manipulated with ease. "These children, whom the ruling caste deemed defective, are saving our world," Ryan continued, his voice gaining strength. "They're not just neutralizing a weapon designed to commit genocide. They're transforming it into something that could benefit all Sheliaks." As Ryan spoke, the camera panned across the room, showing the other enhanced Sheliak children working alongside human scientists. It captured Dr. Zarn's amazed expression as he monitored the girls' progress and the fierce purpose on Kree's face as she defended the entrance. "The ruling caste lied to you," Ryan pressed on. "These genetic changes aren't a defect. They're the next step in Sheliak evolution. And right now, these children are using their abilities to save every life on this planet." The broadcast spread like wildfire across Shelia. In homes, public spaces, and even military installations, Sheliaks watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded before their eyes. Back in the compound, the effect of the broadcast was immediate. Commander Vex's forces began to hesitate, their attacks becoming less coordinated as doubt crept into their minds. Some lowered their weapons entirely, staring in disbelief at the enhanced children they had been ordered to eliminate. Captain Holt, seizing the opportunity, stepped forward with his hands raised. "Commander Vex," he called out, his voice carrying over the din of battle. "This madness has to stop. Look at what these children are capable of. They're saving your entire species." Commander Vex, his exoskeleton gleaming with sweat and grime, paused in his advance. His compound eyes darted between the broadcast images and the scene before him, conflict evident in every twitch of his antennae. In the control room, Elva and Zira completed their task with a final, synchronized gesture. The holographic display exploded in a burst of green light, and Dr. Zarn let out a triumphant click. "It's done," he announced. "The weapon has been neutralized and reprogrammed. It's now a beneficial agent that could accelerate positive genetic changes across our population." As the news spread, the fighting in the compound gradually ceased. Sheliak soldiers lowered their weapons, many turning to stare at the enhanced children with a mixture of awe and newfound respect. Ryan rushed back to Elva and Zira, gathering them in his arms. "You did it," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. You saved everyone. The girls chittered softly, exhaustion evident in their drooping antennae. Yet there was pride in their alien eyes, a sense of accomplishment that transcended species barriers. As the immediate crisis subsided, Ryan became acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The compound buzzed with activity as Dr. Zarn and his team worked to secure the reprogrammed agent. Captain Holt was already engaged in tense discussions with Commander Vex, laying the groundwork for a ceasefire. Ryan's communication device chirped, indicating an incoming transmission from the human colonial administration. As he prepared to answer, he looked down at Elva and Zira, still nestled in his arms. In their eyes, he saw not just the future of the Sheliak species, but the potential for a new era of human-Sheliak relations. The journey ahead would be complex, filled with diplomatic negotiations, societal changes, and the integration of the enhanced Sheliaks into a world that had once feared them. But as Ryan held his adopted daughters close, he felt a surge of purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together as a family and as a bridge between two species on the brink of a revolutionary new chapter. Ryan took a deep breath, steadying himself as he ended the transmission. The weight of what had just transpired settled over him like a heavy blanket. He looked down at Elva and Zira, still nestled in his arms, their alien features a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "You two were incredible," he said softly, his voice filled with pride. As the immediate crisis subsided, the compound buzzed with activity. Dr. Zarn and his team worked feverishly to secure the reprogrammed agent, their movements precise and deliberate. Captain Holt engaged in tense discussions with Commander Vex, their voices low but urgent as they laid the groundwork for a ceasefire. Ryan's communication device chirped insistently, indicating an incoming transmission from the human colonial administration. He gently set Elva and Zira down, giving them each a reassuring pat before answering the call. "Young here," he said, his voice hoarse from the strain of recent events. "Ryan, this is Governor Reyes," came the response, the governor's tone a mix of concern and urgency. "We've just witnessed your broadcast. What in heaven's name is going on down there?" Ryan spent the next few minutes providing a concise summary of events, from the discovery of the ruling caste's biological weapon to the enhanced Sheliak's intervention. As he spoke, he watched the scene unfold around him. Sheliak's soldiers, who had moments ago been intent on destroying the compound, now stood in small groups, their antennae twitching as they processed a radical shift in their reality. "We need to act fast," Governor Reyes said as Ryan concluded his report. "This situation could spiral out of control if we don't establish some form of interim government immediately." Ryan nodded, then remembered the governor couldn't see him. "Agreed. What do you propose?" "We're sending Captain Holt new orders. He's to organize an emergency council with representatives from all major factions. We want you on that council, Ryan. Your connection with the enhanced Sheliaks makes you uniquely qualified to serve as a liaison." Ryan's mind raced, considering the implications. "Understood, Governor. I'll do whatever I can to help." As he ended the call, Ryan saw Captain Holt approaching, his face etched with willpower. "Ryan, we need to talk," Holt said, his eyes darting around the room. "Things are moving quickly, and we need to establish order before chaos takes hold." Over the next few hours, Ryan found himself thrust into the center of a rapidly evolving political landscape. The Emergency Council came together in a flurry of activity, with representatives from the Evolutionary Front, moderate members of the former ruling caste, and human diplomats gathering in what had once been the compound's mess hall. Dr. Zarn, his exoskeleton still bearing scorch marks from the recent battle, was appointed interim leader. His scientific expertise and understanding of both traditional and enhanced Sheliaks made him the ideal candidate to guide Sheliakos through this tumultuous transition. As the council debated and made decisions, Ryan found himself assigned a crucial role, overseeing the integration of enhanced Sheliaks into mainstream society. It was a daunting task, one that would require all of his human perspective and the experience he'd gained with Elva and Zira. "We need to start with education," Ryan suggested during one of the council sessions. "These children need a safe place to learn about their abilities and how to use them responsibly." Dr. Zarn's antennae perked up at the idea. "The compound," he chittered excitedly. "We could convert it into a school and research center." The council agreed, and over the next few weeks, Ryan worked tirelessly alongside Dr. Zarn to bring the idea to fruition. The hidden compound that had once been a sanctuary for the enhanced Sheliacs was transformed into a bustling center of learning and discovery. Elva and Zira, having played such a crucial role in averting disaster, naturally fell into positions as peer mentors. Ryan watched with pride as his adopted daughters guided newly discovered enhanced Sheliac children, their confidence growing with each passing day. As the school took shape, news of the events on Sheliaco spread through human space like wildfire. Ryan found himself fielding calls from reporters, politicians, and scientists, all eager to understand the implications of what had transpired. Then came word that the human government was dispatching a high-ranking diplomat, Ambassador Jonathan Adams, to assess the situation and renegotiate human-Sheliac relations. Ryan knew this could be a turning point, a chance to forge a new era of cooperation between the two species. The day of Ambassador Adams' arrival dawned bright and clear. Ryan stood on the landing pad, Elva and Zira by his side, as the sleek diplomatic shuttle touched down. The ambassador emerged, flanked by a team of experts, xenobiologists, diplomats, and military advisors. Ryan stepped forward, extending his hand. "Welcome to Sheliacos, Ambassador Adams. We have a lot to show you." The ambassador's handshake was firm, his gaze scrutinizing. "Indeed, Mr. Young. I look forward to seeing firsthand what all the fuss is about." As they walked towards a converted compound, Ryan could sense the ambassador's skepticism. It was clear that Adams, like many humans, was struggling to reconcile the sudden shift in Sheliac society with everything they thought they knew about the species. "Ambassador," Ryan said, pausing at the entrance to the school, "I'd like to start your visit with a demonstration. I think it's important you see the capabilities of the enhanced Sheliacs for yourself." Adams nodded, his expression guarded. "By all means, Mr. Young, show me what these children can do." Ryan led the delegation into a large, open room where Elva, Zira, and several other enhanced Sheliac children waited. At a nod from Ryan, the children began their demonstration. The air hummed with energy as the young Sheliacs interfaced with various technological systems. Holographic displays erupted around them, showing complex data streams and intricate 3D models. The children moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced abilities allowing them to process and manipulate information at speeds that left the human observers awestruck. As the demonstration concluded, Ryan turned to Ambassador Adams, whose skepticism had given way to undisguised amazement. "Incredible," Adams breathed, his eyes wide. "The potential here. It's beyond anything we could have imagined." Ryan allowed himself a small smile. It was a promising start, but he knew they still had a long way to go. As he prepared to lead the ambassador on a tour of the rest of the facility, his communication device buzzed with an urgent message. Captain Holt's face appeared on the small screen, his expression grim. "Ryan, we have a situation. A group of hardline Sheliac traditionalists is gathering in the city center. They're calling for a return to the old ways, denouncing the enhanced Sheliacs as abominations. Things could get ugly fast." Ryan's teeth clenched as he absorbed the news. The path ahead was far from smooth, but he was ready to face whatever challenges came their way. He looked at Elva and Zira, then back at the ambassador and his team. "Ambassador Adams," he said, his voice steady, "it seems our tour will have to wait. We have some urgent matters to attend to." Tension crackled through the air as Ryan processed the gravity of Captain Holt's message. "I understand," Ryan replied, his voice low and urgent. "We'll be there as soon as possible." He turned to Ambassador Adams, who was eyeing him with concern. "I apologize, Ambassador, but we have an urgent situation developing in the city center. I believe it would be beneficial for you to witness this firsthand." Adams nodded, his expression grim. "Lead the way, Mr. Young." As they hurried towards the city center, Ryan briefed the ambassador on the developing situation. The streets buzzed with nervous energy, Shiliaks of all castes hurrying in various directions, their antennae twitching anxiously. Upon reaching the central square, they were met with a cacophony of clicking and chittering. A large crowd of Shiliaks had gathered, their exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh sunlight. At the center of the throng stood a familiar figure, Commander Vex, his voice amplified as he addressed the crowd. "Our species stands at a crossroads," Vex proclaimed, his antennae rigid with conviction. "These so-called enhanced Shiliaks are not the future. They are an aberration, a threat to our very identity." Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the crowd, while others clicked in disagreement. Ryan's mind raced, assessing the volatile situation. He turned to Dr. Zarn, who had joined them moments earlier. "We need to act fast," Ryan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "If we don't address these fears now, this could spiral out of control." Dr. Zarn's compound eyes flickered with drive. "Agreed. But how do we convince them?" Ryan's gaze fell on Elva and Zira, who stood nearby, their young faces a mixture of concern and determination. An idea began to form in his mind. "We show them," Ryan said, a plan rapidly taking shape. "Dr. Zarn, can you set up a public demonstration of the enhanced Shiliak's abilities? Right here, right now?" The scientist's antennae twitched in surprise. "It's risky, but—" "Yes, I believe we can." Ryan nodded, then turned to Captain Holt. "We'll need security. Can you ensure the safety of the children and the crowd?" Holt's teeth gritted in purpose. "Consider it done." As Dr. Zarn hurried to prepare the demonstration, Ryan approached Elva and Zira. He knelt beside them, his voice gentle but urgent. "Girls, we need your help. Are you ready to show everyone what you can do?" The young Shiliaks chittered softly, their compound eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They nodded in unison. Within minutes, a makeshift stage had been set up in the square. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped forward, his voice carrying over the crowd. "People of Shiliakos," he began, drawing all eyes to him. "There's been a lot of fear and misinformation spreading about the enhanced Shiliaks. Today, we want to show you the truth." He gestured to Elva and Zira, who stepped onto the stage. The crowd's chittering intensified, a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "These children are not a threat," Ryan continued. "They are the key to solving problems that have plagued our city for years." At Ryan's nod, Dr. Zarn activated a series of holographic displays around the square. They showed various city systems, power grids, water management, traffic control, all operating at suboptimal levels. Elva and Zira stepped forward, their antennae beginning to glow softly. As the crowd watched in amazement, the young Shiliaks interfaced directly with the city systems. The holographic displays came alive, showing real-time optimizations and improvements. Power distribution balanced instantly, alleviating brownouts in several sectors. Water flow adjusted, eliminating waste and improving pressure in drought-prone areas. Traffic patterns shifted, easing congestion across the city. The crowd's mood began to shift, curiosity replacing fear. Even some of Vex's supporters seemed impressed by the display. Suddenly, alarms blared from the holographic displays. Ryan's head snapped towards Dr. Zarn, who was frantically checking his instruments. "Someone's trying to sabotage the demonstration." Dr. Zarn clicked urgently. Ryan's eyes scanned the crowd, spotting a group of Shiliaks huddled around a portable device. He signaled to Captain Holt, who immediately dispatched security forces to intercept them. But before the security team could reach the saboteurs, Elva and Zira's antennae pulsed brightly. Their eyes narrowed in concentration as they interfaced directly with the saboteur's device. The crowd watched in awe as the young Sheliacs not only prevented the sabotage, but turned it into an even more impressive display of their abilities. The hijack signal was rerouted, creating a dazzling light show above the square that illustrated the potential of human-Sheliac cooperation. As the demonstration concluded, the square erupted in a chorus of impressed clicks and whirs. Ryan could see the shift in the crowd's demeanor, fear giving way to hope and excitement. Ambassador Adams stepped forward, his eyes wide with realization. "Mr. Young," he said, his voice filled with scarcely controlled excitement, "I believe we've just witnessed the beginning of a new era in human-Sheliac relations." Ryan nodded, allowing himself a small smile of relief. But as he scanned the crowd, his eyes locked with Commander Vex. The former military leader's compound eyes blazed with a mixture of fury and tenacity. This demonstration had been a victory, but Ryan knew the real battle was a long way to go. As he prepared to address the crowd again, his mind raced with the challenges that lay ahead, integrating the enhanced Sheliacs, managing the fears of traditionalists, and forging a new path for human-Sheliac cooperation. The future of Sheliacos hung in the balance, and Ryan Young found himself at the center of it all. All hung in the balance, and Ryan Young found himself at the center of it all. As the crowd's excitement began to settle, Ryan's mind raced with the enormity of the task ahead. He knew that this demonstration, while successful, was only the beginning. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden buzz from his communication device. Captain Holt's face appeared on the screen, his expression tense. "Ryan, we've got a problem. Our intel suggests Vex is mobilizing his supporters. They're heading towards a genetic enhancement facility. If they destroy that technology, we'll lose everything we've worked for." Ryan's heart made as he processed the information. He glanced at Ambassador Adams, who had overheard the conversation. "Go," Adams said, nodding firmly. "I'll coordinate with the colonial forces to secure the government buildings. We'll establish a command center there." Ryan nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. He turned to Dr. Zarn, who was monitoring the situation nearby. "Dr. Zarn, I need you to stay here with Captain Holt. Turn the school into a fortress. Use every bit of technology we have." The Sheliac scientist's antennae twitched in agreement. "Understood. We'll keep the children safe." Ryan then addressed Elva and Zira, along with two other enhanced Sheliac adolescents who had shown exceptional abilities during their training. "I need you four with me," he said, his voice low but firm. "Your abilities will be crucial for what we're about to do." As they prepared to depart, Ryan could see the mixture of excitement and apprehension in the young Sheliac's compound eyes. He placed a reassuring hand on Elva's shoulder. "Stay close and follow my lead," he instructed as they set off towards a genetic enhancement facility. The streets of the city were in chaos. Sheliacs of all castes hurried in every direction, their chittering filled with fear and confusion. As they navigated through the turmoil, Ryan's team encountered their first pocket of resistance, a group of Vex traditionalist militants blocking an intersection. "Elva, Zira," Ryan called out, "can you interface with the traffic control systems?" The young Sheliac's antennae glowed as they connected with the nearby systems. Suddenly, the traffic lights began to malfunction, creating a diversion that allowed Ryan's team to slip past unnoticed. As they progressed deeper into the city, the resistance grew fiercer. Vex supporters had set up barricades, armed with advanced Sheliac weapons. Ryan's human military training kicked in as he guided his team through the combat zones. "Use your abilities tactically," he instructed the young Sheliacs. "Don't just react. Anticipate and control the battlefield." Following his guidance, the enhanced Sheliac adolescents began to manipulate the environment around them. They interface with nearby systems, shutting down enemy communications, creating distractions, and even temporarily disabling weapons. As they approached the genetic enhancement facility, the resistance intensified. Vex forces had fortified the area, creating a formidable defensive perimeter. Ryan surveyed the situation, his mind racing to formulate a strategy. "Elva Zira," he said, turning to the two young Sheliaks, "I need you to scan the building systems. Find any weaknesses in their defenses." The girls' antennae pulsed as they interfaced with the facility's security network. After a moment, Elva's compound eyes widened. "There's a secondary entrance on the east side," she chittered excitedly. "It's connected to the building's waste management system. The security there is minimal." Ryan nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "Good work. Now, I need you all to create a distraction at the main entrance. Make it big. We want to draw as much attention as possible." As the young Sheliak set to work, Ryan led them towards the east side of the building. The sounds of chaos erupted from the main entrance, alarms blaring, systems malfunctioning, and confused shouts from Vex militants. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ryan's team slipped into the facility through the secondary entrance. The corridors were eerily quiet compared to the commotion outside. As they made their way deeper into the building, Ryan's instincts told him they were racing against time. Suddenly, the facility shook with a distant explosion. Ryan's heart raced as he realized what was happening. "Vex is destroying the research," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "We need to move faster." They quickened their pace, encountering sporadic resistance from Vex loyalists. The enhanced Sheliak adolescents proved their worth in combat, using their abilities to disable enemy weapons and manipulate the facility's systems to Ryan's advantage. As they neared the central laboratory, the sounds of destruction grew louder. Ryan signaled for his team to halt as they approached the final corridor. He could hear Vex's voice from within, barking orders to his followers. Ryan turned to his young team, their compound eyes fixed on him with a mixture of fear and perseverance. "Elva Zira," he said softly, "I need you to interface with the lab systems. Locate any explosive devices and start disarming them. The rest of you, be ready for anything." With a deep breath, Ryan stepped into the doorway of the central laboratory, coming face to face with Commander Vex. The Sheliak leader stood amidst the chaos, a detonator clutched in his hand, his compound eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and desperation. "It's over, Vex," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the tension crackling through the air. "Put down the detonator." Vex's antennae twitched violently as he glared at Ryan. "You don't understand, human," he clicked, his voice filled with contempt. "This technology will destroy everything our species has built. Our culture, our traditions, all of it will be lost." As Ryan engaged Vex in tense negotiation, Elva and Zero worked silently in the background, their antennae glowing as they interfaced with the facility systems. They raced against time, locating and disarming the explosive devices one by one. The confrontation reached its climax as Vex, realizing his plan was unraveling, made a desperate move to activate the detonator. Ryan, drawing on his combat training, lunged forward, tackling the Sheliak leader to the ground. The two grappled fiercely, their struggle a physical manifestation of the larger conflict that had engulfed Sheliakos. As they fought for control of the detonator, Ryan could feel the weight of the moment, the future of human-Sheliak relations hanging in the balance. Suddenly, Ryan felt a familiar presence in his mind, the neural link he shared with Elva and Zira pulsing with urgent information. The explosives had been disarmed. With renewed confidence, Ryan made a final, decisive move, wrenching the detonator from Vex's grasp and pinning the Sheliak leader to the ground. As Vex supporters looked on in shock, Ryan secured the defeated commander. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the sounds of continued fighting echoed from outside the facility. Ryan knew that while this battle had been won, the struggle for Sheliakos was far from finished. As his team regrouped, tending to their wounded and securing the vital research data, Ryan's mind turned to the challenges that lay ahead. The capture of Vex was a significant victory, but uniting a deeply divided Sheliak society and forging a path of cooperation between humans and Sheliaks would require all of his skills and willpower. Ryan looked at the young enhanced Sheliaks, their antennae still glowing faintly from their recent exertions. He realized that these children, with their unique abilities and perspectives, would be key to building the future he envisioned. As they prepared to leave the facility and face the chaos still gripping the city, Ryan knew that their work was only beginning. The genetic enhancement facility, once a battleground, now stood as a symbol of their hard-fought victory. Ryan turned to his team, their compound eyes reflecting a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "Excellent work, everyone. Now, let's secure this place and make sure Vex followers can't cause any more damage." As they moved through the facility, securing vital research data and rounding up the remaining militants, Ryan's communication device buzzed with incoming reports. Captain Holt's voice crackled through the speaker. "Ryan, we're seeing a shift out here. Word of Vex capture is spreading fast. Many of his supporters are laying down their arms." Relief washed over Ryan, but he knew better than to celebrate prematurely. "Any holdouts?" "Affirmative," Holt replied. "We've got pockets of resistance across the city. It's going to take a coordinated effort to fully quell this uprising." Ryan's mind raced, formulating a plan. He turned to Elva and Zira, who were busy interfacing with the facility's systems to ensure all explosive devices had been neutralized. "I need you two for something big," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "How do you feel about setting up a city-wide communication network?" The young Sheliak's antennae twitched with excitement as Ryan outlined his bold plan. Using the enhanced children's abilities to create a secure network that would bypass the compromised official channels seemed like their best shot at swift resolution. Within hours, Ryan found himself in a hastily assembled command center with Ambassador Adams and members of the interim Sheliak government. He laid out his proposal, emphasizing the potential for real-time coordination between human and Sheliak forces. "Not only will this network improve our tactical response," Ryan explained, "but it also gives us a platform to broadcast messages of unity and reconciliation to the general population." Ambassador Adams leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. "This could be exactly what we need to demonstrate the practical benefits of human-Sheliak cooperation. You have my full support, Mr. Young." With the ambassador's approval, Ryan wasted no time in gathering a team of 20 enhanced Sheliak children, including Elva and Zira. He led them to a central hub in the city, where they could access multiple technological systems simultaneously. "All right, team," Ryan addressed the group, "I need you to focus on creating a robust and secure network. Connect security forces, government officials, and public information channels. Can you do that?" The children's antennae glowed in unison as they began to interface with the city systems. Ryan watched in awe as holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing the network taking shape in real time. As the enhanced Sheliaks worked their technological magic, Ryan collaborated with Dr. Zarn to craft a series of messages aimed at calming the populace. They emphasized the potential benefits of embracing Sheliak evolution and the opportunities for advancement through cooperation with humans. "Broadcasting now," Elva announced, her compound eyes fixed on a holographic display. Ryan nodded, watching as the messages began to reach even the most isolated parts of the city. The enhanced children's abilities allowed the broadcast to penetrate areas where traditional communication infrastructure had been damaged or sabotaged. As the hours passed, reports of de-escalating conflicts flooded in. The communication network proved invaluable in coordinating peacekeeping efforts, allowing for precise deployment of resources and real-time updates on the situation across the city. However, just as Ryan began to feel a sense of accomplishment, a new challenge emerged. Captain Holt's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grave. "Ryan, we've got a situation. We're receiving reports of enhanced celiac children using their abilities. Inappropriately, they're manipulating city systems, some for personal gain, others out of sheer curiosity. It's causing quite a stir among the general population." Ryan's heart sank as he realized the implications. This development threatened to undermine public trust in the enhanced celiacs and validate some of the traditionalist concerns. "I understand, Captain. I'll handle it," Ryan assured him, already formulating a plan. He quickly assembled a group of human and celiac experts to form an ethics committee. Their task: to develop guidelines and protocols for the responsible use of enhanced abilities. As the committee began its work, Ryan took a hands-on approach with the enhanced children. He gathered them in a makeshift classroom, determined to impress upon them the importance of using their abilities for the greater good. "Your skills are a gift," Ryan explained, pacing before the attentive young celiacs. "But with great power comes great responsibility. We need to establish clear boundaries and ethical guidelines for using your abilities." As he spoke, Ryan could see the understanding dawning in their compound eyes. He led them through various scenarios, discussing the potential consequences of their actions and encouraging them to think critically about the use of their powers. While Ryan focused on educating the enhanced children, Ambassador Adams approached him with a proposal. "Mr. Young, I've been impressed by your initiatives here. What do you think about expanding these programs to include human students as well?" Ryan's antennae would have twitched with excitement if he had them. "That's an excellent idea, Ambassador. It could foster greater understanding between our species and prepare the next generation for increased human-celiac cooperation." As they began to discuss the logistics of implementing such a program, an urgent message came through the communication network. A hidden cache of advanced celiac weapons had been discovered in one of Vec's former strongholds. Ryan's mind immediately shifted to the potential security implications. He turned to Ambassador Adams, his expression serious. "We need to secure those weapons immediately. I'll work with Captain Holt and celiac security experts to devise a strategy." As Ryan prepared to leave for the weapons cache, he received an unexpected message from Earth. The human government, having closely monitored the situation on Cheliacos, expressed interest in replicating aspects of the genetic enhancement process for human use. This new development stopped Ryan in his tracks. The potential implications of sharing such advanced and potentially dangerous technology with his own species deeply affected on his mind. As he stood there, caught between the immediate crisis of the weapons cache and the long-term consequences of this request from Earth, Ryan knew that the decisions he made in the coming days would shape the future of both human and celiac societies. With a deep breath, Ryan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The path forward was uncertain, but he was determined to navigate these complex issues with the same determination and ingenuity that had brought them this far. As he set off to secure the weapons cache, his mind was already racing with ideas on how to address the ethical dilemmas posed by Earth's request. Request from Earth. The potential implications of sharing such advanced and potentially dangerous technology with his own species burdened immensely on his mind. He knew he needed to consult with his team before making any decisions. Ryan called an urgent meeting with Dr. Zarn, Captain Holt, and Ambassador Adams. As they gathered in a secure conference room, the air was thick with tension. "We've received a request from Earth," Ryan began, his voice steady but serious. "They're interested in replicating aspects of the celiac genetic enhancement process for human use." Dr. Zarn's antennae twitched nervously. "This technology is still not fully understood, even by us. The risks of misuse or unintended consequences could be catastrophic." Captain Holt leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Not to mention the potential military applications. This could spark an arms race like nothing we've seen before." Ambassador Adams nodded gravely. On the other hand, the medical benefits could be immeasurable. We can't ignore the potential to cure diseases and extend human lifespans. Ryan listened intently, weighing each perspective. After a moment of contemplation, he spoke. I propose a cautious approach. We share limited information about the genetic enhancements, emphasizing the need for extensive research and strict ethical guidelines before any human trials can begin. The group discussed the proposal, fine-tuning the details. They agreed to establish a joint human celiac research committee to oversee the sharing of information and development of ethical protocols. With the immediate crisis addressed, Ryan turned his attention to the challenges on celiacos. He implemented a comprehensive plan to integrate enhanced celiacs into society, establishing a series of specialized training centers across the planet. At the inauguration of the first center, Ryan stood before a diverse crowd of humans and celiacs. These facilities will focus on different aspects of ability development and ethical use of enhanced capabilities, he announced. We're not just honing skills, we're shaping responsible citizens of a new era. Elva and Zira, standing proudly beside him, took on leadership roles in these centers. Their experience proved invaluable in guiding newly discovered enhanced celiacs. As the integration efforts progressed, Ryan encountered resistance from traditional celiac communities. During a tense town hall meeting, an elderly celiac stood up, his compound eyes reflecting worry. You're changing the very fabric of our society, he clicked, his antennae drooping. How can we be sure this won't lead to the destruction of our culture? Ryan listened respectfully, then responded. Change can be frightening, but it's also an opportunity for growth. We're not erasing your culture. We're adding new chapters to it. To address these concerns on a larger scale, Ryan organized a planet-wide tour with Elva and Zira. They traveled from city to city, showcasing the positive impacts of enhanced abilities on celiac infrastructure, healthcare, and technological advancement. In one demonstration, Elva interfaced with a malfunctioning water purification system, diagnosing and repairing it in minutes. The local celiacs watched in awe as clean water flowed once again. This is the power of our gifts, Elva explained to the crowd. Not to dominate, but to serve and improve lives. Meanwhile, Captain Holt led efforts to secure the cache of advanced celiac weapons discovered in Vex's former stronghold. He worked closely with celiac security experts, combining human tactical knowledge with celiac technology. In a high-tech lab, Holt and a celiac weapons specialist examined a sleek, otherworldly rifle. If we can integrate this with our own defense systems, Holt mused, we could create a security network unlike anything in known space. As these developments unfolded, Ambassador Adams approached Ryan with an exciting proposal. We've made incredible progress here, Adams said, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. I think it's time we expanded our cooperation to other sectors. How would you feel about joint deep space exploration missions? Ryan's face lit up at the idea. Combining human space travel expertise with enhanced celiac abilities? The potential is staggering. As they began to draft plans for this new initiative, an urgent alert came through. Captain Holt's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grim. Ryan, we've detected unidentified spacecraft approaching celiac space, Holt reported. They don't match any known human or celiac designs. We could be looking at first contact with a new alien species. Ryan felt a mix of excitement and apprehension course through him. He knew the situation could either strengthen the bonds between humans and celiacs or tear them apart. Understood, Captain, Ryan replied, his mind already racing with possibilities. Assemble a joint task force. We need to prepare for all scenarios, diplomatic and defensive. As the alert spread, Ryan could feel the tension rising across Celiacos. He knew the next few days would be critical. The approaching vessels represented both a potential threat and an unprecedented opportunity. How they handled this situation would not only test the strength of the Human-Chiliac alliance, but could also redefine their place in the universe. Ryan turned to Ambassador Adams and Dr. Zarn, his expression resolute. We need to accelerate our plans. It's time to show the galaxy what humans and Chiliacs can achieve together. Ryan's mind raced as he processed the gravity of the situation. The approaching alien vessels represented a pivotal moment in human and Chiliac history, one that demanded careful handling. He turned to his team, his expression a mixture of purpose and caution. We need to move quickly, Ryan announced. Captain Holt, coordinate with Chiliac Defense Forces to maintain a non-aggressive stance. Ambassador Adams, ensure Earth is fully briefed on the situation. Dr. Zarn, I want you to prepare our shuttle for immediate launch. As the team sprang into action, Ryan pulled Elva and Zero aside. Your abilities will be crucial for this mission. We may need to establish communication in ways we've never attempted before. The enhanced Chiliacs nodded, their compound eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. Within hours, Ryan's specially assembled team boarded the modified shuttle. The vessel hummed with the fusion of human and Chiliac technologies, a testament to their collaboration. As they prepared for launch, Ryan addressed the joint Human-Chiliac Space Defense Force via video link. Remember, our primary goal is peaceful contact, he emphasized. Maintain defensive positions, but avoid any actions that could be perceived as hostile. We're making history today. Let's ensure it's the right kind. The shuttle's engines ignited, propelling them into the vast expanse of space. As they ascended, Ryan glimpsed the planet below, where enhanced Chiliac children were using their abilities to project real-time holograms of the mission. The sight of humans and Chiliacs gathered together, watching in unified anticipation, filled him with a sense of purpose. As they approached the outer reaches of the Chiliac system, the alien vessels came into view. Their organic, almost fluid-like design was unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. The structure seemed to pulse and shift, defying conventional engineering principles. Elva Zira, Ryan called out. Attempt to establish communication. The enhanced Chiliacs focused intently, their abilities reaching out across the void. Suddenly, a powerful energy pulse emanated from the alien ships, engulfing their shuttle. Alarms blared as systems went dark. We've lost power, Captain Holt shouted, his hands flying over unresponsive controls. Ryan felt a strange force tugging at the shuttle, pulling them towards the largest alien vessel. In a split-second decision, he made a call that would shape the course of events to come. Don't resist, he ordered. Let them bring us in. We need to show we're not a threat. The team watched in a mix of awe and trepidation as their shuttle was drawn into a vast, cavernous docking bay. As the external doors sealed behind them, Ryan took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. Remember, he addressed his team, we represent not just humanity, not just the Chiliacs, but the potential for interspecies cooperation. Whatever happens next, we face it together. As they prepared to disembark, the shuttle's hatch opened to reveal a group of tall, silvery beings. The aliens moved with fluid grace, their multiple limbs in constant, subtle motion. Their large, compound eyes seemed to take in everything at once, and their bodies emitted soft, pulsating bioluminescent patterns. Ryan stepped forward, attempting a greeting, but his words seemed to have no effect. The aliens remained motionless, their luminescent patterns shifting rapidly. Suddenly, Elva gasped. I can sense them, she said, her antennae twitching. They're trying to communicate telepathically. Zira nodded in agreement. It's faint, but I can feel it too. They call themselves the Axiom. Through Elva and Zira's enhanced abilities, a rudimentary telepathic link was established. The flood of information that followed was overwhelming. The Axiom, Ryan learned, were ancient observers of both human and Chiliac civilizations. Their decision to make contact now was driven by the recent advancements in genetic enhancement and interspecies cooperation. As the initial exchange of information subsided, one of the axioms stepped forward, its bioluminescent patterns intensifying. Through the telepathic link, Ryan understood their request. They wished to examine Elva and Zira. Ryan hesitated, protective instincts kicking in. But as he looked at Elva and Zira, he saw drive in their compound eyes. They nodded, signaling their willingness to undergo the examination. Very well. Ryan communicated through the link. But I insist on being present throughout the procedure. The axiom led them to a chamber unlike any laboratory Ryan had ever seen. Living technology pulsed and shifted around them as Elva and Zira were gently enveloped in a cocoon of softly glowing tendrils. As the examination progressed, the axioms shared glimpses of their own history and their role as guardians of galactic balance. Ryan listened intently, his pupils dilating from the implications of their words. Suddenly, the axioms' movements became more agitated. Their bioluminescent patterns flashed rapidly, and through the telepathic link, Ryan sensed their alarm. "What is it?" he asked, tension rising in his voice. "What have you found?" The answer came not in words, but in a series of vivid mental impressions. The genetic enhancements, miraculous as they were, carried unforeseen consequences. Over generations, they would trigger physiological changes in the celiac population, altering their evolutionary path in ways that were impossible to predict. As Ryan grappled with this revelation, alarms blared throughout the axiom ship. Through the telepathic link, a new urgency flooded his mind. A group of rogue celiac vessels, remnants of Vex supporters, had breached Celiaco's defenses and were rapidly approaching. The axiom's message was clear. These extremists were on a suicide mission, determined to destroy the alien ships and anyone they saw as a threat to celiac independence. Ryan's mind raced, the weight of 3 species' futures pressing down on him. The axioms offer to help mitigate the long-term effects of the enhancements hung in the air, tantalizing yet fraught with implications. And now, with rogue celiacs bearing down on them, the stakes had never been higher. He turned to his team, their faces a mix of perseverance and uncertainty. In that moment, Ryan knew that his next decision would shape the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. The clock was ticking, and the fate of humans, celiacs, and the enigmatic axiom hung in the balance. Balance. The clock was ticking, and the fate of humans, celiacs, and the enigmatic axiom hung in the balance. Ryan took a deep breath, his mind racing through potential solutions. "We need to act fast," Ryan said, turning to his team. "Captain Holt, contact the celiac defense forces. We need their cooperation to neutralize this threat." As Holt moved to establish communication, Ryan faced the axiom representatives. Their bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what he interpreted as concern. "We request permission to use your communication systems," Ryan conveyed through the telepathic link. "We might be able to prevent this conflict without bloodshed." The axiom's patterns shifted, and Ryan felt their agreement wash over him. They guided him to a console that seemed to grow and reshape itself to accommodate his human physiology. "Elva, Zira," Ryan called out, "I need you to amplify our transmission. Can you interface with the system?" The enhanced celiacs nodded, their antennae twitching with anticipation. As they approached the console, tendrils of light extended towards them, creating a seamless connection between their minds and the axiom technology. Ryan took a moment to compose his thoughts, then began his broadcast. His voice, amplified and focused by Elva and Zira's abilities, resonated with clarity across space. "This is Ryan Young, addressing the approaching celiac vessels. I urge you to cease your advance immediately. We have critical information about the future of our species that you need to hear." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. On the console, he saw several of the rogue ships slowing their approach. "The genetic enhancements are not without consequences," Ryan continued. They will trigger long-term changes in celiac physiology. By attacking this ship, you risk losing vital knowledge that could shape the very future of our people. As Ryan spoke, Captain Holt worked furiously at another console, coordinating with the celiac defense forces near the planet. The Axiom's advanced sensors provided precise data on the rogue ship's trajectories, allowing for a more effective defensive strategy. Despite Ryan's impassioned plea, a core group of extremist vessels maintained their aggressive course. Realizing that words alone wouldn't be enough, Ryan turned to Dr. Zarn. "Doctor, we need a non-lethal way to stop those ships. Can you analyze the Axiom's defensive capabilities?" Dr. Zarn nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the soft glow of the alien technology. He worked swiftly, his enhanced intellect processing vast amounts of data in seconds. "I believe I've found something," Dr. Zarn announced. "A combination of the Axiom's energy pulse technology and our ability to interface with complex systems could disable their ships without causing harm." Ryan nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "Elva, Zira Krell Vera," he called out to the enhanced celiacs. "We need you to link with the Axiom's defensive systems. Can you do that?" The four celiacs moved into position, their minds merging with the ship's living technology. Ryan watched in awe as their bodies seemed to glow with the same bioluminescent patterns as the Axiom. "Target the propulsion and weapon systems only," Ryan instructed. "We want to neutralize the threat, not harm our own people." As the rogue vessels came within range, Ryan gave the order. "Now!" A burst of energy erupted from the Axiom ship, precisely targeted by the enhanced celiac's mental interface. The pulses struck the approaching vessels with surgical precision, causing their engines to sputter and die. Weapon systems went dark, leaving the ships adrift in space. Ryan let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but he knew the challenges were a long way to go. As the team regrouped, Ryan's communication device buzzed with an urgent message from Ambassador Adams. The human government had been observing the events unfolding in space and requested Ryan's immediate return for a full briefing. Ryan turned to the Axiom, their tall, silvery forms now familiar, yet still awe-inspiring. "Thank you for your assistance," he conveyed to the telepathic link. "But we have more to discuss regarding your offer of help with the genetic enhancements." The Axiom's patterns shifted, indicating their willingness to listen. Ryan proposed a compromise. Instead of direct technological transfer, the Axiom could provide guidance as human and celiac scientists worked together to address the long-term effects of the enhancements. The Axiom considered Ryan's proposal, their compound eyes seeming to look beyond him, perhaps into the potential futures his idea might create. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, they agreed. As Ryan's team prepared to return to Sheliakos, he felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had started this journey by adopting 2 enhanced celiac children, and now he found himself at the center of a 3-way interspecies collaboration that could reshape the galaxy. The shuttle hummed to life, its systems a testament to human celiac cooperation. As they disengaged from the Axiom ship, Ryan gazed out at the stars, each point of light holding the promise of new discoveries and challenges. "Set a course for Sheliakos," Ryan instructed Captain Holt. "We have a lot of work ahead of us." As the shuttle accelerated towards the planet, Ryan began mentally preparing for the complex negotiations that awaited him. He knew that balancing the interests of humans, celiacs, and the Axiom would require all of his diplomatic skills and more. The future was uncertain, but Ryan was determined to forge a path that would benefit all species involved. As Sheliakos grew larger in the view screen, he turned to his team, a mix of humans and enhanced celiacs who had become more than colleagues. They were family. "Whatever comes next," Ryan said, his voice filled with determination, "we face it together." Together? Ryan's words hung in the air as the shuttle touched down on Sheliakos' surface. The team disembarked, their minds still reeling from the encounter with the Axiom and the subsequent space battle. As they stepped onto the landing pad, Ryan noticed a flurry of activity. A group of high-ranking Sheliak officials, led by Dr. Zarn, approached them with urgency. Among them, Ryan recognized Ambassador Adams, her face a mix of relief and concern. "Ryan, we need you and your team to come with us immediately," Ambassador Adams said, her voice low and tense. "There's been developments." Before Ryan could respond, they were whisked away to a nearby high-security facility. The corridors buzzed with activity as they were led to a large conference room. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing scenes from across Sheliakos. Dr. Zarn stepped forward, his compound eyes reflecting the blue glow of the displays. "The enhanced children who witness your encounter through the holograms. They're exhibiting unprecedented abilities." Ryan watched in amazement as footage played of young Sheliaks effortlessly manipulating objects from a distance, communicating telepathically across vast distances, and even altering the molecular structure of materials with a mere touch. "This is extraordinary," Ryan breathed, his mind racing with the implications. Ambassador Adams nodded grimly. "It's also potentially dangerous. We need to implement a strategy to manage the situation before it spirals out of control." Ryan's training kicked in, and he began formulating a plan. "We need to establish a planet-wide ability assessment and training program," he proposed. "We can use the existing specialized training centers to help these newly enhanced Sheliaks control their abilities and understand the ethical implications." Dr. Zarn's antennae twitched in agreement. "I'll present this to the interim government immediately. We need to act fast." As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, with officials rushing to implement Ryan's plan, Ambassador Adams pulled him aside. "There's more," she said quietly. "A delegation of high-ranking Earth officials is on its way here. They're concerned about these rapid advancements and the Axiom's involvement." Ryan felt the weight of responsibility settle even more heavily on his shoulders. He nodded, understanding the delicate balance he would need to strike between human interests, Sheliak sovereignty, and the potential benefits of Axiom cooperation. As they discussed the impending arrival of the Earth delegation, an aide burst into the room, his antennae quivering with urgency. "Sir, we're receiving reports of protests in major cities," the aide reported breathlessly. "Unenhanced Sheliak citizens are demanding access to the genetic enhancement technology. They're saying it's their right to evolve alongside their enhanced brethren." Ryan exchanged a worried glance with Captain Holt. "We need to address this immediately," Ryan said. "Let's organize town hall meetings. We'll have enhanced Sheliaks, including Elva and Zira, demonstrate their abilities and discuss the challenges they face. We need to foster understanding, not division." As they began to plan the public outreach program, Dr. Zarn approached them, his usual calm demeanor visibly shaken. "I've made a discovery in my research," he said, his voice low. "The long-term effects predicted by the Axiom. They're beginning to manifest in some of the older enhanced Sheliaks." He brought up a holographic display showing a group of Sheliaks. Their bodies pulsed with a soft, rhythmic bioluminescence, reminiscent of the Axiom's communication patterns. "This raises questions about the true nature of the enhancements," Dr. Zarn continued, "and their potential connection to the Axiom." Before Ryan could fully process this information, his communication device buzzed. It was a message from the Axiom, requesting permission to send a small delegation to Sheliakos to observe these developments firsthand. Ryan's mind raced, weighing the potential benefits against the diplomatic complications such a visit could cause. As he pondered his response, another alert sounded throughout the facility. "Sir," an operator called out, "a deep space relay has just activated. It's broadcasting an encrypted signal of ancient origin." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Ryan stepped towards the main display, watching as streams of incomprehensible data flowed across the screen. Assemble a team of human and Sheliak cryptographers, Ryan ordered. We need to decode the signal. And reach out to the Axiom. We may need their insights on this. As the facility burst into action once again, Ryan found a quiet corner to collect his thoughts. He gazed out a window at the Sheliak cityscape, its alien architecture a constant reminder of the vast differences they were working to bridge. In the reflection, he saw Elva and Zira approach, their compound eyes filled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Ryan," Elva said softly, "what happens now?" Ryan turned to face his adopted daughters, marveling at how far they had come and the pivotal role they now played in shaping the future of their species. "Now," Ryan said, placing a reassuring hand on each of their shoulders, "we prepare for a meeting that will shape the future of not just the Sheliaks, but humanity and the Axiom as well. And we do it together." As they stood there, overlooking the city that had become their home, Ryan knew that the challenges ahead would test them all. But as he looked at Elva and Zira, he felt a surge of drive. Whatever came next, they would face it as a family, as a team, and as a bridge between worlds. Species as a bridge between worlds. As Ryan contemplated the challenges ahead, a series of rapid beeps from his communication device shattered the moment of reflection. "Mr. Young," Captain Holt's voice crackled through the speaker, "the Earth delegation has entered Sheliakos airspace. ETA to landing pad. 10 minutes. Ryan straightened his posture, his mind shifting into diplomatic mode. "Thank you, Captain. We'll meet them at the landing pad." As they made their way through the bustling corridors of the facility, Ryan briefed Elva and Zira on the situation. "The arrival of the Earth delegation is a critical moment. We need to show them the progress we've made and the potential benefits of our work here." The trio emerged onto the landing pad just as a sleek, state-of-the-art Earth shuttle touched down. Its engines hummed to a stop, and the main hatch slid open with a soft hiss. Out stepped Admiral James Hawthorne, his crisp uniform a stark contrast to the organic architecture of Sheliakos. Ryan stepped forward, extending his hand. "Admiral Hawthorne, welcome to Sheliakos." The Admiral's grip was firm, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the area. "Mr. Young, I trust you understand the gravity of the situation that brings us here." Before Ryan could respond, a commotion near the facility entrance caught their attention. Dr. Zarn burst onto the landing pad, his antennae twitching with excitement. "Ryan, we've made a breakthrough with the ancient signal," he called out, then paused as he noticed the Earth delegation. "Oh, my apologies for the interruption." Admiral Hawthorne's eyes narrowed. What ancient signal? Ryan took a deep breath, realizing that the already complex situation had just become even more intricate. "Admiral, if you'll follow me, I believe we have much to discuss." Inside the facility's main conference room, Ryan organized a comprehensive briefing. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing data on the enhanced Sheliak's integration, the cooperation with the Axiom, and the recent discoveries. As Elva and Zira demonstrated their abilities, manipulating the holographic displays with mere thoughts, Admiral Hawthorne leaned forward, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "Impressive," he admitted, "but the security implications are staggering. How can we be sure these abilities won't be used against us?" Ryan was about to respond when alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Holt's voice came over the intercom. "Security breach at Enhancement Facility 3. Unenhanced extremists have infiltrated the perimeter." Admiral Hawthorne stood abruptly. "I want to see how you handle this, Young." Ryan nodded, turning to Captain Holt. "Assemble a joint human Sheliak security team. Non-lethal measures only." As they rushed to the security center, Ryan watched the situation unfold on the monitors. Captain Holt's team moved with precision, using a combination of Earth and Sheliak technology to subdue the infiltrators without casualties. With the situation under control, Ryan turned to address the growing concerns. He proposed his plan for a controlled voluntary enhancement program for adult Sheliaks to Dr. Zarn and the Sheliak officials present. This could bridge the divide in our society, Dr. Zarn mused, his compound eyes gleaming with possibilities. As discussions on the new proposal began, another alert sounded. An aide rushed in, announcing the arrival of the Axiom delegation. The conference room fell silent as Nexus Prime entered. Its bioluminescent patterns pulsed hypnotically, multiple appendages moving with fluid grace. Admiral Hawthorne's hand instinctively moved to his sidearm before he caught himself. Nexus Prime's voice resonated in their minds. We come seeking understanding and cooperation. The tension in the room was palpable as Ryan began the introductions. However, before they could delve into substantive discussions, Dr. Zarn interrupted with news that would change everything. The ancient signal, he said, his voice trembling with excitement. It contains genetic sequences that match both Sheliak and Axiom DNA. Nexus Prime's patterns flickered rapidly. This confirms our long-held theories. We must share with you the truth about our shared past. As the Axiom representative revealed the ancient genetic experiments conducted on Earth and Sheliakos, Ryan watched the color drain from Admiral Hawthorne's face. This is an outrage, the Admiral exploded. You've been manipulating our species for thousands of years? Ryan stepped between them, his mind racing to find a diplomatic solution. Admiral, please. This is an opportunity to understand our origins and potentially unlock new advancements for all our species. As heated debates erupted around him, Ryan's communication device buzzed urgently. The Deep Space Relay team had news. The signal had changed, now broadcasting coordinates and an activation sequence. Ryan's voice cut through the arguments. We have a choice to make. We can continue to debate our past, or we can work together to uncover the secrets that await us at these coordinates. He proposed a joint mission, watching as skepticism gave way to curiosity on the faces around him. Even Admiral Hawthorne, after initial resistance, saw the strategic value in being part of such an unprecedented expedition. As preparations for the mission began in earnest, Ryan found himself faced with a difficult decision regarding Elva and Zira. Their unique abilities could be invaluable, but the potential dangers caused great concern on his mind. Standing in the Sheliako spaceport, Ryan watched as the modified starship was prepared for its journey into the unknown. Human, Sheliak, and Axiom technology seamlessly integrated into its systems, a physical representation of the cooperation they were striving for. As the crew began to board, Ryan took a moment to absorb the gravity of the situation. The fate of 3 species hung in the balance, their shared past about to collide with an uncertain future. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to embark on a journey that would take them to the very edge of known space, and perhaps beyond. Beyond. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to embark on a journey that would take them to the very edge of known space, and perhaps beyond. Elva, Zira, Ryan called, turning to face his adopted daughters. I've made a decision. You're coming with us. The Sheliak girls' compound eyes widened, a mix of excitement and apprehension flickering across their faces. Are you sure? Elva asked, her antennae twitching nervously. Ryan nodded, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. Your abilities and understanding of both human and Sheliak cultures are invaluable. We need you on this mission. As they boarded the modified starship, christened the Unity, Ryan couldn't help but marvel at the seamless integration of human, Sheliak, and Axiom technology. The ship itself was a testament to what they could achieve through cooperation. Admiral Hawthorne approached as the final preparations were made. I hope you know what you're doing, young, he said, his voice low. Bringing those enhanced Sheliaks on board is a significant risk. A calculated one, Admiral, Ryan replied firmly. One that I believe will pay off. The Unity's engines hummed to life, and the diverse crew settled into their positions. Humans worked alongside Sheliaks, while axiom representatives pulsed with bioluminescent patterns in their designated areas. As the ship lifted off from Chiliacos, Ryan felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. Days into their journey, the initial excitement gave way to rising tensions. Admiral Hawthorne implemented strict security protocols, limiting the enhanced Sheliak's access to certain areas of the ship. Ryan found himself constantly mediating conflicts between the different factions. "This is unacceptable," Dr. Zarn protested during one particularly heated meeting. "The enhanced Sheliaks are crucial to this mission. They shouldn't be treated like security risks." Admiral Hawthorne's teeth clenched. "Until we fully understand the extent of their abilities, we must err on the side of caution." Ryan raised his hands, silencing the argument. "We need to find a middle ground. Our success depends on cooperation, not division." As the days passed, Elva and Zira's abilities continued to evolve in unexpected ways. Ryan watched with a mix of pride and concern as they interfaced with the Unity systems, enhancing its performance beyond what anyone had anticipated. 2 weeks into their voyage, alarms blared throughout the ship. Ryan rushed to the bridge, where Captain Holt was barking orders. "Uncharted asteroid field dead ahead," Holt reported. "Our sensors are going haywire. We can't get a clear reading." Ryan studied the view screen, watching as massive chunks of rock tumbled through space, shrouded in strange energy signatures. He turned to Admiral Hawthorne. "Sir, I have a suggestion." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Let me guess. You want to use the enhanced Sheliaks." Ryan nodded. "Elva and Zira's abilities could guide us through safely." After a moment of tense silence, Hawthorne grudgingly agreed. "Do it, but I want security teams standing by." Elva and Zira took their positions at the navigation controls, their eyes glazing over as they connected with the ship systems. The Unity moved with unprecedented precision, weaving through the asteroid field as if it were an extension of the girls' own bodies. As they neared the center of the field, Zira's antennae suddenly stood erect. "Ryan, we're detecting a signal. It matches the frequency from Chiliacos." All eyes turned to the view screen, where a massive asteroid loomed before them. Unlike its chaotic neighbors, this one remained stationary, its surface marked with unnatural symmetry. "Take us in," Ryan ordered, his heart racing. "Prepare a landing party." The Unity touched down on the asteroid's surface with barely a tremor. Ryan led the expedition team out of the airlock, consisting of Admiral Hawthorne, Dr. Zarn, Nexus Prime, Elva, and Zira. Their magnetic boots clanked against the rocky surface as they approached a structure that seemed to grow out of the asteroid itself. As they drew near, the structure hummed to life, responding to the presence of the enhanced Sheliaks. Panels slid open, revealing an entrance that led deep into the asteroid's core. Inside, they found themselves in a vast chamber filled with technology unlike anything they had ever seen. Sleek, organic forms pulsed with latent energy, as if waiting to be awakened. At the center stood a pedestal with an interface that seemed to call out to Elva and Zira. "Wait," Admiral Hawthorne warned, but it was too late. Drawn by an irresistible force, the girls stepped forward and placed their hands on the pedestal. The chamber exploded with light. Holographic displays filled the air, and a voice that seemed to resonate from the very walls began to speak. "Greetings, children of the precursors," the voice intoned. "You have returned to claim your birthright." As the message played, revealing the ancient history of the precursors and their grand experiment in genetic modification, Ryan watched in awe as the technology around them roared to life. The entire asteroid shuddered, and through the chamber's windows, they could see a fleet of smaller vessels emerging from hidden hangars. Elva and Zira stood transfixed, their eyes glowing as information flooded their minds. "Ryan," Elva gasped, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "We can see everything. The precursors, their plans, their technology." Alarms blared from their comms. Captain Holt's voice crackled through. "Sir, the asteroid is generating some kind of energy field. We're trapped." Admiral Hawthorne spun to face Ryan, his face a mask of fury and fear. "Young, what have you done?" As chaos erupted around them, Ryan's mind raced. The power at their fingertips could reshape the galaxy, but at what cost? He looked at Elva and Zira, seeing not just as adopted daughters, but the key to humanity's future. "Everyone, back to the Unity," Ryan ordered, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. "We need to regroup and assess our options." As they rushed back to the ship, Ryan knew that the decisions made in the coming hours would echo across the stars for generations to come. The Unity, once a symbol of cooperation, now felt like a powder keg ready to explode. With Elva and Zira's powers growing by the second and tensions between the factions at a breaking point, Ryan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The future of 3 species now rested in their hands, and the clock was ticking. The future of 3 species now rested in their hands, and the clock was ticking. Ryan knew he had to act fast to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. "Everyone, form a perimeter around the central chamber," Ryan ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to secure this area immediately." Admiral Hawthorne nodded, quickly dispatching human security forces to guard key access points. Dr. Zarn coordinated with the Sheliak crew members, their compound eyes darting back and forth as they monitored the ship's systems for any unexpected changes. Ryan approached Elva and Zira, who remained connected to the precursor interface. Their eyes glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and their antennae twitched erratically. "Elva? Zira? Can you hear me?" Ryan asked, his voice tinged with concern. The girls turned to face him, their movements jerky and unnatural. When they spoke, their voices came out as a garbled mix of human speech and alien frequencies. "We see everything," Elva managed to say, her words punctuated by strange clicking sounds. "The network, vast, beyond," Zira added, her antennae pulsing with each syllable. Ryan turned to Dr. Zarn. "Can you perform a medical scan? We need to make sure this interface isn't harming them." As Dr. Zarn began his examination, Nexus Prime glided forward, its bioluminescent patterns swirling with intense activity. "The technology here. It is beyond our comprehension," the Axiom representative communicated directly into their minds. "This asteroid ship appears to be part of a larger network, scattered throughout the galaxy." Admiral Hawthorne's eyes narrowed. "A network? For what purpose?" "Interstellar travel and communication," Nexus Prime replied. "Far beyond our current capabilities." The Admiral's hand moved to his sidearm. "We need to contact Earth immediately. This technology could have immense military applications." Ryan held up a hand. "Agreed, but we should include the Sheliak homeworld as well. Transparency is crucial right now." As they set up a quantum entanglement communicator, alarms suddenly blared throughout the asteroid ship. The fleet of smaller vessels they had seen earlier began to power up, their engines emitting a low, ominous hum. Ryan rushed back to the central chamber, where Elva and Zira had disconnected from the interface. The girls swayed on their feet, looking disoriented but unharmed. "Ryan," Elva said, her voice clearer now. "The ship detected something. A threat approaching fast." "What kind of threat?" Ryan asked, his mind racing. Zira shook her head. "Unknown. But the ship's defenses are activating." Admiral Hawthorne stepped forward. "We should use this precursor fleet to establish a defensive perimeter. Now." "Wait," Dr. Zarn interjected. "We should attempt communication first. This could be a misunderstanding." Ryan looked between them, then at Nexus Prime, who remained silent. He took a deep breath, formulating a plan. "We'll do both," Ryan announced. Use part of the fleet for defense, but prepare a communication array as well. We'll be ready for anything. As they implemented the plan, Elva and Zira revealed another surprise. We can control the ship, Elva said, her compound eyes gleaming. With our minds. Ryan watched as the girls effortlessly manipulated the ship's systems, a mixture of awe and unease washing over him. The power at their fingertips was both exhilarating and terrifying. The unknown threat entered sensor range, revealing a massive fleet of biomechanical ships unlike anything they had ever seen. Ryan ordered the communication array activated, broadcasting a message of peace in every format they could muster. The response came not in words or traditional signals, but in complex energy patterns that pulsed and shifted like living things. Nexus Prime's bioluminescence flickered rapidly as it analyzed the transmission. It appears to be a form of direct neural communication, the Axiom representative explained. Similar to our own language, but far more advanced. Ryan turned to Elva and Zira. Can you interpret it? Use your connection to the precursor tech? The girls nodded, their faces contorting in concentration as they focused their newfound abilities. The chamber fell silent, the tension palpable as everyone waited for a breakthrough. Suddenly, Elva gasped. We can understand them, but it's so much, so fast. Zira's antennae twitched violently. They're not hostile. They're curious about us, about the precursors. Ryan stepped closer to the girls, his heart pounding. Can you respond? Tell them we mean no harm. As Elva and Zira worked to establish communication, Ryan looked around at the diverse group surrounding him. Admiral Hawthorne stood rigid, his hand never far from his weapon. Dr. Zarn's compound eyes darted between his medical scanner and the girls. Nexus Prime pulsed with a kaleidoscope of colors, its multiple appendages weaving complex patterns in the air. They stood united, representatives of 3 species, on the precipice of contact with a civilization that could redefine their understanding of the universe. The biomechanical fleet held position just beyond their defensive screen, waiting. Ryan took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever came next. The fate of humanity, the Sheliacs, and the Axiom hung in the balance. As Elva and Zira continued their mental communication with the unknown entities, Ryan couldn't help but wonder, what secrets would this encounter unveil, and how would it reshape the future of their worlds? Alliance. As Ryan contemplated their next move, Elva and Zira suddenly stiffened, their antennae quivering with heightened sensitivity. We're receiving something, Elva said, her voice strained. It's not like the precursor data. It's alive. Ryan watched as the girls' eyes glazed over, their minds reaching out beyond the confines of the asteroid ship. He exchanged worried glances with Dr. Zarn and Nexus Prime, unsure of what to expect. After several tense moments, Zira spoke, her words halting and uncertain. They call themselves the Symbionts, a collective of organic and technological components. Admiral Hawthorne stepped forward, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Are they hostile? Elva shook her head. Not hostile. Curious and concerned. They detected the activation of the precursor technology. They see it as a potential threat to their established order in this sector. Ryan's mind raced, formulating a plan. He turned to the expedition team. We need to show them we're not a threat. Elva, Zira, can you use the ship systems to project a holographic display of our journey? The girls nodded, their fingers dancing across the alien interface. The chamber filled with a dazzling array of light, recreating their expedition's path through space. Images of the Unity, the first contact with the Sheliacs, and the discovery of the precursor technology flashed before them. As the holographic presentation concluded, sensors aboard the asteroid ship detected movement from the symbiont fleet. A massive vessel detached from the main group, approaching their position. Ryan saw an opportunity. We need to meet them face to face. A small delegation aboard one of these precursor shuttles. Admiral Hawthorne's face hardened. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. With all due respect, Admiral, Ryan countered, this might be our only chance to establish peaceful contact. We can't afford to appear hostile or defensive. After a heated debate, Hawthorne reluctantly agreed on the condition that he join the delegation. Ryan, Dr. Zarn, Nexus Prime, and the enhanced Shiliak girls boarded a sleek precursor shuttle, its systems responding effortlessly to Elva and Zira's mental commands. As they approached the symbiont vessel, Ryan marveled at its constantly shifting surface. Organic and mechanical components danced in intricate patterns, forming and reforming before their eyes. The shuttle was guided into a docking bay that materialized on the ship's hull, engulfing them in its living architecture. The delegation stepped out into an environment that defied easy description. The air itself seemed alive, shimmering with barely visible energy patterns. They were met by a group of beings that appeared as swirling masses of organic tissue interwoven with advanced technology. Communication proved challenging until Elva and Zira established a mental link with the Symbiont Collective. Through this connection, the delegation learned of the symbiont's ancient origins and their millennia-long journey through the galaxy. As discussions progressed, Ryan's communicator crackled to life. Captain Holt's voice came through, tinged with panic. "Young, we have a situation. The crew. They're experiencing hallucinations, accessing abilities they shouldn't have. We're losing control." Ryan's heart raced as he realized the implications. The precursor technology was affecting the unenhanced crew members, potentially endangering the entire mission. He turned to the symbionts, an idea forming. "We need your help," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "In exchange for your assistance in stabilizing our crew, we offer to share our findings and work together to study the precursor network safely." The Symbiont Collective pulsed with activity, considering the proposal. After what felt like an eternity, they agreed. A team of their most advanced biomechanical entities was dispatched to the Unity. As they returned to the asteroid ship, Ryan could see the tension in Admiral Hawthorne's posture. The military man was clearly uncomfortable with allowing the symbionts aboard the Unity, but he recognized the necessity of their aid. Back on the precursor asteroid, Ryan coordinated the efforts to compile all the data they had gathered. Dr. Zarn worked tirelessly, correlating information from the Shiliak databases with the new discoveries. Nexus Prime contributed insights from the Axiom's vast historical records, providing context for the ancient civilization's achievements. Elva and Zira's abilities continued to evolve at an alarming rate. Their connection to the precursor technology deepened, allowing them to access increasingly complex systems and information. Ryan watched them with a mixture of pride and concern, wondering about the long-term effects of their rapid evolution. As the immediate crisis aboard the Unity was brought under control, Ryan called for a joint council meeting. Representatives from all involved parties gathered in the central chamber of the asteroid ship, the air thick with anticipation. Just as Ryan was about to begin the meeting, a priority message came through from Earth and Shiliako simultaneously. The holographic display flickered to life, showing scenes of chaos and wonder from across the galaxy. Other precursor sites had begun activating, triggering a wave of interstellar events that threatened to reshape the known universe. Ryan looked around at the assembled council, humans, Shiliaks, Axiom, and now symbionts. The weight of their responsibility settled on his shoulders. They stood at the center of a galactic upheaval, with the fate of multiple civilizations hanging in the balance. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ryan began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "we find ourselves at a crossroads of cosmic proportions. The choices we make here will echo across the stars for generations to come. Let's begin by..." "Ladies and gentlemen," Ryan began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "we find ourselves at a crossroads of cosmic proportions. The choices we make here will echo across the stars for generations to come. Let's begin by addressing the most pressing issues at hand. As Ryan spoke, the holographic display flickered with images of chaos unfolding across the galaxy. The council members shifted uneasily in their seats, the weight of their responsibility palpable in the air. Admiral Hawthorne leaned forward, his face a mask of concern. We need to establish a defensive perimeter immediately. These precursor sites are activating without our control, and we have no idea what threats may emerge. Dr. Zarn's compound eyes darted between the council members. With all due respect, Admiral, a defensive approach may be premature. We should prioritize research teams to understand these activations. Knowledge is our best defense against the unknown. The symbiont representative, a swirling mass of biomechanical components, pulsed with energy as it spoke through a translator. We propose a third option. Our technology may allow us to temporarily deactivate these precursor sites, buying us time to formulate a more comprehensive strategy. As the debate intensified, a sudden commotion drew everyone's attention. Elva and Zira, who had been standing quietly near the chamber's edge, collapsed to the floor, their bodies convulsed, antennae twitching violently. Ryan rushed to their side, his heart pounding. Dr. Zarn, we need you here now. The Shiliak scientist hurried over, medical scanner in hand. A symbiont specialist glided across the room, tendrils of bioluminescent energy reaching out towards the girls. Their neural patterns are erratic, Dr. Zarn reported, his voice tight with concern. It appears the precursor network is overwhelming their enhanced minds. As they worked to stabilize Elva and Zira, Captain Holt's voice crackled through Ryan's communicator. Young, we've got a situation here on the Unity. Several crew members are exhibiting abilities, enhanced strength, heightened senses, even rudimentary telepathy. It's like what happened to Elva and Zira, but on a smaller scale. Ryan's mind raced, processing the implications. He turned to address the council, who watched the unfolding chaos with a mixture of fear and fascination. We need to act now, Ryan declared, his voice cutting through the tension. I propose a multifaceted approach to address this crisis. He outlined his plan, emphasizing the need for cooperation between all species present. As he spoke, Admiral Hawthorne's posture straightened, a hint of approval in his eyes. Dr. Zarn nodded enthusiastically, while the symbiont representative pulsed with what seemed to be agreement. It's ambitious, Admiral Hawthorne admitted, but it might be our best shot at containing the situation. With reluctant consensus reached, the Council sprang into action. Admiral Hawthorne began organizing joint teams, his military training evident in his efficient commands. Dr. Zarn huddled with a group of scientists, discussing protocols for studying the effects of precursor technology on organic life. Nexus Prime's bioluminescence flickered rapidly as it interfaced with Axiom systems, laying the groundwork for a galactic communication network. As preparations reached a fever pitch, the asteroid ship's sensors blared a warning. Ryan rushed to the main console, his eyes widening at the display. Multiple fleets detected, he announced, his voice tense. Unknown origin, heavily armed. They're converging on several precursor sites. Admiral Hawthorne's hand moved to his weapon. Hostile. Unknown, Ryan replied. But we can't take any chances. We need to make contact before this escalates into a galactic war. Ryan quickly assembled a response team, including some of the newly enhanced crew members from the Unity. As they prepared to board a precursor shuttle, Elva and Zira regained consciousness, their eyes unfocused but alert. Ryan, Elva called out, her voice weak. We can sense them. The approaching fleets. Some seek to protect, others to destroy. The precursor technology. It's changing everything. Zira nodded, her antennae quivering. Be careful. The balance of power is shifting. Nothing will be the same after this. With a final nod to the council, Ryan led his team aboard the shuttle. As they launched into space, the vastness of the galaxy stretched out before them, teeming with unknown dangers and possibilities. The shuttle sensors detected the massive energy signatures of the unknown fleets as they approached the contested precursor site. Ryan stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls despite the gravity of the situation. "All right, team," he addressed the mixed group of humans, Sheliacs, and Axiom representatives. "We're about to make first contact with potentially hostile forces. Remember your training, stay alert, and above all, remain calm. We're here to prevent a war, not start one." As they entered the site's orbit, the shuttle's view screen filled with the awe-inspiring sight of massive ships unlike anything they had ever seen. Some bristled with weaponry, while others seemed designed for scientific exploration. Ryan took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. He opened a communication channel, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Ryan Young of the Joint Galactic Expedition. We come in peace and seek dialogue. Please respond." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for an eternity. Then, suddenly, the shuttle systems crackled to life as multiple responses flooded in. Ryan exchanged glances with his team, their expressions a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. As they prepared to face this new challenge, Ryan couldn't help but wonder, would their fledgling alliance be enough to navigate the treacherous waters of interstellar politics and prevent a conflict that could engulf the entire galaxy? The answer, he knew, would shape the future of all their civilizations for generations to come. As they approached the contested precursor site, the vastness of space gave way to a scene of impending conflict. Multiple fleets converged on the location, their massive ships dwarfing Ryan's shuttle. The sensors lit up, detecting energy signatures from at least 5 distinct civilizations. "Maintain a safe distance," Ryan ordered the pilot, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. "We need to assess the situation before making contact." Suddenly, the shuttle rocked violently. A blinding flash emanated from the precursor site, temporarily disabling their systems. As power flickered back to life, Ryan's jaw dropped at the sight before them. On the planet's surface, a colossal structure had activated. It resembled a towering spire, its surface etched with pulsating lines of energy. The structure emitted a shimmering field that quickly enveloped the entire planet. "By the stars," whispered one of the Sheliac scientists, compound eyes wide with awe. The awe quickly turned to alarm as the unknown fleets, caught off guard by the activation, began to take aggressive positions. Energy weapons flared to life, and the first salvos were exchanged in a chaotic space battle around the precursor site. Ryan's mind raced. They had come to prevent a war, not witness its beginning. "We need to intervene," he said, turning to his team. "Initiate Emergency Protocol Alpha 3. The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in despite the unprecedented situation. Using the advanced capabilities of their precursor shuttle, they broadcast a wide-spectrum signal designed to temporarily disable weapons systems across all ships in the vicinity. The effect was immediate. The signal, amplified by the energy field surrounding the planet, washed over the warring fleets. Weapon systems went dark, and the barrage of fire ceased. For a moment, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Ryan allowed himself a brief sigh of relief, but he knew the respite would be short-lived. Already, he could see the fleet systems adapting, countering the interference. "We need to act fast," Ryan said, his voice tight with urgency. "Prepare for planetary descent. We're going to the source." As the shuttle entered the planet's atmosphere, Ryan assembled his ground team. 2 enhanced human crew members, a Sheliac scientist, and a symbiont specialist joined him near the airlock. Just as they were about to disembark, Ryan's communicator crackled to life. Elva's voice came through, tinged with desperation. "Ryan, wait. We need to join you." "Absolutely not," Ryan replied, his protective instincts flaring. "It's too dangerous. Our abilities are crucial for interfacing with the precursor technology," Zira chimed in. "We can help, Ryan. You know we can." Ryan hesitated, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Time was running out, and they needed every advantage they could get. "Fine," he conceded. "But you're staying on the asteroid ship. We'll use the telepresence androids." Within minutes, 2 advanced android bodies were activated on the shuttle, their movements mirroring those of Elva and Zira from afar. The girls' consciousness flowed through the secure link, allowing them to physically interact with the environment while remaining safely distant. As the airlock hissed open, Ryan led his team onto the harsh, alien landscape. The precursor structure loomed before them, its surface alive with intricate patterns of light. The air crackled with energy, raising the hair on their arms. "Stay alert," Ryan warned as they approached the structure. "We don't know what defenses it might have." Elva and Zira, through their android avatars, moved with inhuman grace. Their enhanced senses allowed them to perceive energy patterns invisible to the others. They quickly identified a hidden access panel near the base of the structure. As the team worked to activate the panel, movement on the horizon caught Ryan's attention. Multiple landing craft were descending to the planet's surface. "We've got company," Ryan announced. "Double time it, people." The symbiont specialist extended its biomechanical tendrils, interfacing with the access panel. Working in concert with Elva and Zira's insights, they bypassed the ancient security measures. With a low hum, the access panel slid open, revealing a corridor that led into the heart of the precursor structure. As they prepared to enter, the first wave of alien forces arrived. 3 distinct species approached, weapons drawn. Ryan stepped forward, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "We come seeking knowledge, not conflict," he called out. "I propose a temporary truce. Let us explore this structure together for the benefit of all our peoples." Before the aliens could respond, the energy field surrounding the planet intensified. The precursor structure emitted a high-pitched whine that cut through their skulls like a knife. Organic beings from all sides clutched their heads in pain. "Fall back," Ryan shouted, his voice barely audible over the din. As they retreated, the ground began to shake violently. The precursor structure started to transform before their eyes. Its outer layers shifted and reconfigured, splitting into multiple segments. Each section revealed complex machinery and pulsating energy cores. The transformation spread across the planet's surface. New structures emerged from beneath the ground, forming a vast, interconnected network of precursor facilities. "Everyone, back to the shuttle," Ryan ordered, his heart pounding as he realized the magnitude of what they were witnessing. They barely made it aboard before the landscape beneath them heaved and buckled. The shuttle took off, narrowly avoiding debris as they ascended through the turbulent atmosphere. As they broke through to space, Ryan's communication panel lit up with distress calls. The energy field had expanded, engulfing several ships and causing critical malfunctions across the alien fleets. Ryan made a split-second decision. "Set course to assist the nearest distressed vessel," he commanded. "We need to show them we're all in this together now." As the shuttle maneuvered through the chaos, dodging debris and energy surges, Ryan knew they were racing against time. The true power of the precursor technology was awakening, and the fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance. With dedication etched on his face, Ryan began coordinating rescue efforts. They had come seeking answers, but now found themselves at the center of a crisis that threatened to reshape the galaxy. As they approached the first stricken alien ship, Ryan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The journey to uncover the secrets of the ancients had only just begun. As Ryan's shuttle weaved through the chaos of debris and malfunctioning ships, his team worked tirelessly to rescue stranded alien crews. The shuttle's hold filled quickly with a diverse array of beings, their tentacles, appendages, and exoskeletons creating a kaleidoscope of alien life. "We're at capacity," the pilot called out as they maneuvered around a stricken vessel. "Any more, and we risk compromising life support." Ryan nodded grimly. "Set a course back to the asteroid ship. We'll drop off our passengers and reassess." As they approached the massive precursor vessel, Ryan couldn't help but marvel at its sleek design. The asteroid ship had moved closer to the crisis zone, its advanced systems allowing it to navigate the treacherous space with ease. Upon docking, Ryan wasted no time. "Admiral Hawthorne, Dr. Zarn, Nexus Prime. Emergency meeting in the main conference room. And bring our new guests." Minutes later, the conference room buzzed with activity. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time data from the transforming planet. The rescued aliens huddled together, their expressions a mix of fear and curiosity. Among them, a tall, lithe figure stepped forward. Her iridescent scales shimmered under the room's lights, and her forearms were adorned with intricate tattoos. "I am Commander Vexterra of the Zarkonian Fleet," she announced, her voice a melodic trill. "My people have tracked precursor technology for centuries. What we're witnessing now, it's unprecedented." Ryan leaned forward, intrigued. "What can you tell us?" Vexterra's eyes, multifaceted like a dragonfly's, scanned the room. "The planet-wide transformation is likely the first stage of a galactic-scale precursor reactivation protocol. Our legends speak of a network that spans the cosmos, lying dormant for eons." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic displays flickered and distorted as a massive energy pulse emanated from the transformed planet. "Brace for impact," Ryan shouted, gripping the edge of the table. The pulse washed over the asteroid ship, momentarily plunging them into darkness. As systems rebooted, Ryan turned to Nexus Prime. "Status report?" The Axiom's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly. "Minor systems disruption. No lasting damage detected." However, its voice trailed off as new data streamed across the displays. Dr. Zarn's tentacles writhed in agitation. "By the void!" The pulse. "It's activating other precursor sites across the galaxy." The room erupted into chaos as reports flooded in. Dozens of worlds were affected, their dormant precursor structures awakening and beginning to transform. Ryan's mind raced. They needed to act, and fast. "Listen up," he called out, his voice cutting through the noise. "We need to buy time. I propose using the asteroid ship's precursor tech to create dampening fields around the most critical planets." Admiral Hawthorne nodded sharply. "Agreed. I'll coordinate with Earth and our colonies to prepare for potential evacuations." As the room mobilized, Ryan felt a familiar presence at the edge of his consciousness. Elva and Zira, still connected via their android avatars, were trying to communicate. "Ryan," Elva's voice echoed in his mind, "we've made a discovery. The precursor technology, we can influence it directly with our combined mental commands." Ryan's heart raced at the implications. That could be the key to solving this crisis, he thought back. But it's too dangerous to attempt remotely. "I'm bringing you here." He turned to the medical team. "Prepare for Elva and Zira's arrival. Set up a containment area where they can safely interface with the precursor systems." As preparations continued, Commander Vexterra approached Ryan. "There may be another solution," she said, her voice low. "Our legends speak of a precursor control hub. If we can find and activate it, we might be able to shut down the reactivation protocol entirely." Ryan's eyes widened. "Nexus Prime," he called out. "I need you to analyze all available data. Look for any patterns that might indicate the location of this control hub." The Axiom's lights flickered in acknowledgement as it began processing the vast amounts of information at its disposal. Outside the conference room viewport, Ryan watched as the first wave of dampening fields deployed to the affected planets. The shimmering barriers enveloped world after world, slowing the transformation process. But even as hope bloomed, new challenges arose. The incoming reports painted a grim picture. Widespread panic, mass displacements, entire ecosystems in flux. And already, the precursor technology was adapting, finding ways around the dampening fields. "Sir," a crew member called out, "we're picking up multiple distress signals. Refugee ships are converging on our position." Ryan took a deep breath, steadying himself. The asteroid ship was about to become more than just a command center. It would be a sanctuary for countless displaced beings. "Begin expanding our habitable areas," he ordered, "and prepare to receive refugees. We'll need to organize them into work teams to assist with crisis management." As the asteroid ship transformed into a hub of frantic activity, Ryan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking. The conference room door slid open, revealing a medical team escorting two familiar figures. Elva and Zira had arrived, their eyes wide as they took in the controlled chaos around them. Ryan moved to greet them, his expression a mix of relief and concern. "Welcome aboard," he said softly. "I hope you're ready. We're going to need every advantage we can get." As he led them towards a containment area, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The galaxy was changing, transforming before their eyes. And they were at the heart of it all, racing against time to find a solution before it was too late. Too late. Ryan led Elva and Zira to the containment area, his mind racing with possibilities. As they entered the specially prepared room, he couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and trepidation. "Are you ready?" he asked, looking at the two young women. Elva nodded, her eyes gleaming with persistence. "We've been preparing for this moment. Let's see what we can do." As they connected to the ship's systems, the effect was immediate. Elva and Zira's eyes widened, their bodies tensing as they processed the influx of information. "Ryan," Zira called out, her voice tight with concentration. "We're detecting something. A signal. Faint but distinct." Elva chimed in, her words coming in short bursts. "It's distant, very distant, but it feels important." Ryan leaned forward, his heart racing. "Can you pinpoint its location?" The two worked in tandem, their minds sifting through the vast sea of data. After several tense moments, Elva spoke again. "We have coordinates. It's in a sector we've never explored before." Ryan didn't hesitate. This could be the break we've been looking for. "We need to investigate immediately." He turned to the communications panel, his voice firm as he issued orders. "Prepare a modified precursor shuttle for immediate departure. I want a team assembled in 10 minutes. As the ship burst into action, Ryan made his way to the launch bay. He found Commander Vexterra already there, her iridescent scales shimmering under the harsh lights. "I heard about the signal," she said, her multifaceted eyes fixed on Ryan. "I'm coming with you." Ryan nodded, knowing her expertise would be invaluable. "Glad to have you on board." Dr. Zarn slithered into the bay, his tentacles writhing with excitement. "I wouldn't miss this for all the stars in the galaxy," he announced. Within minutes, a select team of enhanced humans and aliens had assembled. They boarded the shuttle, which had been outfitted with advanced cloaking technology and long-range sensors. As the bay doors opened, revealing the chaos of space beyond, Ryan took a deep breath. "Let's find some answers," he said, and the shuttle shot forward into the unknown. The journey through hyperspace was tense, the team acutely aware of the transformation spreading across the galaxy with each passing moment. Suddenly, the shuttle shuddered violently, alarms blaring. Massive energy distortions detected. The pilot shouted, The hyperspace field is destabilizing. Ryan gripped his seat as the shuttle lurched. Drop us out. Now. With a sickening lurch, the shuttle returned to normal space. As the team regained their bearings, they found themselves in an unfamiliar region, surrounded by stars they didn't recognize. Where are we? Ryan asked, peering out at the alien constellations. The pilot's fingers flew over the controls. Unknown. Sir, our navigation systems are scrambled. We're lost. A heavy silence fell over the shuttle. They were stranded in uncharted space, their mission derailed before it had truly begun. Dr. Zarn moved to a sensor panel, his tentacles dancing over the controls. Wait, I'm detecting something. A planet, not far from here. And it's... Ryan, it's showing signs of precursor activity. Ryan's eyes narrowed as he considered their options. With the shuttle damaged and their location unknown, they had little choice. Take us in, he ordered. We'll land and see what we can find. Maybe we can repair the shuttle and gather some intel while we're at it. As they approached the planet, the team could see the telltale signs of ancient structures on its surface. The shuttle touched down near a sprawling complex of geometric shapes and towering spires, all bearing the unmistakable mark of precursor design. Stay alert, Ryan warned as they disembarked. We don't know what kind of defenses this place might have. No sooner had the words left his mouth than the ground beneath them hummed to life. Panels slid open, revealing a complex network of glowing circuits. The air crackled with energy, and in the distance, something massive began to move. It's activating, Commander Vexterra called out, her forearms raised in a defensive posture. We've triggered some kind of security system. Ryan's mind raced. They couldn't retreat to the shuttle. It was still undergoing emergency repairs. Their only option was to push forward and hope they could find a way to shut down the defenses. Everyone, stay together, he shouted. We need to find the control center for this outpost. It's our best chance of survival and our only hope of completing the mission. As if in response to his words, a series of platforms rose from the ground, forming a path that led deeper into the precursor complex. It was clearly an invitation or a challenge. Ryan exchanged glances with his team. They all knew the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. With a nod, he stepped onto the first platform. Let's see what the precursors have in store for us, he said, his voice steady despite the danger. As the team followed him into the heart of the ancient outpost, none of them could have imagined the trials and revelations that awaited them. As Ryan led his team deeper into the heart of the ancient outpost, the air hummed with energy. The geometric patterns beneath their feet pulsed with an ethereal light, guiding them forward. Suddenly, the narrow corridor opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with intricate circuitry and pulsing with vibrant colors. At the center of the room stood a massive holographic display, suspended in midair and surrounded by floating control panels. The team approached cautiously, their eyes wide with wonder and apprehension. This must be the central control room, Dr. Zarn whispered, his tentacles twitching with excitement. Before anyone could respond, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red markers blinked across the outer rim, moving at an alarming speed towards the populated sectors. What are we looking at? Ryan asked, his voice tense. Commander Vexterra stepped forward, her multifaceted eyes scanning the display. It appears to be some kind of threat detection system. Those red markers. They're moving far too fast to be normal ships. As if in response to her words, the display zoomed in on one of the red markers. The team gasped in unison as the image will-powered into a massive, planet-sized entity. Its surface writhed with biomechanical tendrils, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. By the void, Dr. Zarn exclaimed, his normally calm demeanor shaken. It's consuming entire star systems. Ryan's mind raced as he processed the implications. This must be why the precursor failsafe protocol was activated. It's not just about transformation, it's about defense. The team watched in horror as the entities, which Ryan dubbed Devourers, continued their relentless advance. The holographic display showed inhabited worlds transforming, precursor technology spreading across their surfaces like a protective shell. We can't shut down the protocol entirely, Ryan realized aloud. But we can't let it continue unchecked either. We need to find a way to modify it. He turned to Dr. Zarn and Commander Vexterra. Can you help me interface with these systems? We need to adjust the transformation process to focus on uninhabited worlds while minimizing the impact on populated planets. As they worked feverishly to modify the precursor systems, an urgent transmission came through. Admiral Hawthorne's holographic form appeared, his face grave. Ryan, we've got a situation. The transformed worlds have started producing fleets of advanced ships and weapons. They seem to be preparing for war, but there's no coordination, no leadership. Ryan nodded, his fingers flying over the alien controls. We're working on it, Admiral. Stand by. With a final adjustment, Ryan activated the modified protocol. The holographic display shifted, showing the accelerated transformation of uninhabited worlds into defensive strongholds. Now for coordination, Ryan muttered. He accessed the control hub's communication systems, establishing a galactic network that linked all transformed worlds and refugee fleets. Admiral, Ryan called out, I've set up a communication network. Use it to coordinate our defenses. We'll need every ship, every weapon we can muster. As the Admiral's image faded, replaced by a flurry of tactical data, Ryan felt a familiar presence at the edge of his mind. Elva and Zira's voices echoed in his thoughts. Ryan, we can help. Elva's mental voice rang clear. We've discovered we can interface with the network you created. We can bridge the gap between species, translate tactical information in real time. Do it, Ryan replied, relief washing over him. We'll need every advantage we can get. The holographic display shifted again, showing the first waves of Devourers entering populated space. Ryan watched as fleets of ships, a patchwork armada of various species augmented by precursor technology, moved to intercept. All ships, this is Ryan, he called out over the network. Conventional weapons won't be enough. Focus your attacks on the Devourers' energy conduits. That's their weak point. As the battle raged across multiple star systems, Ryan coordinated the defense efforts from the control hub. He directed fleets, activated planetary defenses, and relayed critical information through the network. The transformed planets unleashed their newly created weapons, beams of energy that could pierce the Devourers' biomechanical hides. The Allied forces, armed with the knowledge of the entity's weaknesses, struck with precision. Through it all, Elva and Zira's enhanced abilities proved invaluable. They translated complex tactical data into forms each species could understand instantly, allowing for seamless coordination among the diverse Allied forces. As the conflict intensified, uninhabited worlds continued to transform at an accelerated rate. New precursor structures rose from barren planets, becoming forward bases for the Allied forces. Ships and weapons poured forth from these newly fortified worlds, reinforcing the defensive lines. Ryan's mind raced as he processed a flood of information streaming through the control hub. The galactic landscape was changing by the minute, entire regions of space transformed by the spread of precursor technology. A new transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Hawthorne's voice rang out, tinged with a mix of hope and urgency. Ryan, the refugee fleets, they're organizing. We're seeing the formation of an emergency council, representatives from all allied species. Ryan nodded, a plan forming in his mind. We need to formalize this alliance, he said. Admiral, propose the creation of a galactic defense force. We'll combine our strengths, integrate our technologies. It's our best chance at survival." As the Admiral acknowledged the order, Ryan turned his attention back to the holographic display. The war against the Devourers raged on, a cosmic battle stretching across vast swathes of the galaxy. Worlds continued to transform. Civilizations reshaped by ancient technology awakened to face an unimaginable threat. Ryan stood at the heart of it all, coordinating the defense of countless worlds from the precursor control hub. The future of the cosmos hung in the balance, and the war had only just begun. As Ryan coordinated the defense efforts, a new threat emerged that would test the limits of their newfound alliance. An urgent transmission cut through the chaos of battle, Admiral Hawthorne's holographic form materializing before Ryan. "We've got a problem," the Admiral said, his face grim. "A massive Devourer entity has breached our outer defensive lines. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Ryan's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The new entity dwarfed the others, its surface a writhing mass of biomechanical tendrils that pulsed with malevolent energy. More alarming still, it seemed to be directing the movements of the smaller Devourers around it. "It's heading straight for the Thalasian sector," Admiral Hawthorne continued. "If it reaches those populated systems." Ryan nodded, understanding the implications. "We need to move. Now." He turned to his team, his mind already formulating a plan. "We're transforming this control hub into a mobile command center. We'll engage directly while maintaining our coordination of the galactic defense." At his command, the space station began to shift and reconfigure. The massive rings collapsed inward, forming a more compact and maneuverable structure. As the transformation completed, Ryan felt the subtle vibration of new engines coming online. "Set a course for the Thalasian sector," he ordered. "Maximum speed." As they raced towards the threatened systems, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The emergency training programs were paying off. Soldiers from diverse species were mastering precursor technology at an astonishing rate. Fleet effectiveness had increased dramatically, providing a much-needed boost to morale. A familiar presence touched Ryan's mind. "Ryan," Elva's voice echoed in his thoughts. "Zira and I have made a breakthrough. We can now directly interface with the transformed planet's defense systems." "That's excellent news," Ryan replied. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." The mobile command center dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the Thalasian sector. The scene before them was one of chaos and destruction. The massive Devourer entity, which Ryan mentally dubbed the Alpha Devourer, was laying waste to the outer planet's defenses. Ryan's fingers flew over the control panels, coordinating a massive counterattack. Fleets from a dozen species converged on the Alpha Devourer, their weapons blazing with precursor energy. Planetary defense systems roared to life, filling space with a dazzling array of energy beams and missiles. The Alpha Devourer retaliated with terrifying efficiency. It unleashed weapons that disabled precursor technology, leaving ships and defense platforms vulnerable. Its regenerative abilities allowed it to shrug off damage that would have obliterated lesser entities. As the battle raged, alarms blared throughout the command center. "Sir," one of the technicians called out, "we're detecting critical malfunctions in the defense grid of Thalasia Prime." Ryan's blood ran cold. Thalasia Prime was home to millions of refugees from across the sector. If its defenses failed, the casualties would be catastrophic. He made a split-second decision. "Prepare a shuttle," he ordered. "I'm leading a team planet-side to repair that grid." Commander Vexterra stepped forward, her forearms flexing in anticipation. "I'm with you," she said. Minutes later, Ryan found himself on the shuttle with Vexterra and a hand-picked team of elite soldiers from various species. As they descended through Thalasia Prime's atmosphere, the devastation became apparent. Smaller Devourer entities had breached the weakened defenses, wreaking havoc across the planet's surface. The shuttle touched down near the main control center for the planet's defense grid. Ryan and his team hit the ground running, fighting their way through waves of Devourer spawn. Each member of the team showcased their unique abilities. Vextera's lightning-fast reflexes, a Cronin warrior's stone-like durability, a Zentai shapeshifter's adaptive combat style. They reached the control center to find a group of planetary engineers barricaded inside. "The systems are infected," one of the engineers explained breathlessly. "The Alpha Devourer released some kind of biotechnological virus. We can't get the defenses back online." Ryan's mind raced as he assessed the situation. They needed to not only repair the physical damage, but also counteract this new Devourer virus. He turned to his team, each member representing a different aspect of galactic ingenuity and resilience. "We need to think outside the box," he said, his eyes scanning the room. "We have precursor tech, and we have a piece of Devourer tissue from the battle outside. What if we combine them?" The team worked feverishly, drawing on their diverse knowledge and skills. Ryan's understanding of precursor systems, combined with the unique perspectives of his alien companions, led to a breakthrough. They created a hybrid antivirus, a fusion of precursor code and Devourer biomechanics. As they integrated the antivirus into the defense grid, the systems began to come back online. The planet's shields flickered and then stabilized, stronger than ever. Weapons platforms reactivated, turning their fury on the invading Devourer spawn. Ryan transmitted the antivirus solution to the mobile command center and the precursor asteroid ship. "Elva Zira," he called out mentally, "distribute this to all transformed planets and precursor systems. It should inoculate them against future Devourer attacks." As the girls acknowledged and began the distribution process, Ryan turned his attention back to the battle raging above Thalasia Prime. The Alpha Devourer, seemingly sensing the shift in the planet's defenses, redoubled its assault. With the defense grid fully operational and enhanced by the new antivirus, Ryan coordinated a massive counterattack. The Galactic Defense Force, now able to utilize precursor weapons without fear of system failures, unleashed their full potential. For the first time since its appearance, the Alpha Devourer showed signs of vulnerability. Its regenerative abilities slowed, overwhelmed by the combined firepower of the Allied fleets and planetary defenses. As Ryan prepared to return to the mobile command center, he knew the battle was a long way to go. The Alpha Devourer was wounded but not defeated, and the wider war against the Devourers still raged across the galaxy. But for the first time since this cosmic conflict began, he felt a glimmer of hope. The shuttle lifted off from Thalasia Prime's surface, carrying Ryan and his team back to the heart of the battle. As they ascended through the atmosphere, the planet's newly reinforced defenses gleamed like a beacon of resistance against the darkness of space. The next phase of the conflict awaited, and Ryan knew that every decision, every action, would shape the fate of countless civilizations across the stars. Galaxy. As the shuttle docked with the mobile control hub, Ryan's mind was already racing with the next steps. The moment he stepped onto the command deck, he was greeted by a flurry of activity. "Status report," he called out, striding towards the central holographic display. Admiral Hawthorne's voice cut through the noise. "The antivirus solution is being distributed as we speak. Elva and Zira are accelerating the process, interfacing directly with our communication networks." Ryan nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Alpha Devourer loomed large, a pulsing mass of biomechanical horror. But something was changing. As the antivirus spread across the transformed planets and precursor systems, the smaller Devourer entities began to move erratically, their coordinated assault faltering. "Now's our chance," Ryan said, his voice carrying across the command center. "All ships, focus fire on the Alpha Devourer's weak points. Hit it with everything we've got." The space around the massive entity erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire. Precursor energy beams lanced through space, puncturing the Alpha Devourer's hide. Missiles loaded with hybridized Precursor Devourer explosives detonated against its surface, each blast tearing away chunks of its biomass. For the first time since the battle began, the Alpha Devourer seemed to recoil. Its tendrils thrashed wildly, no longer coordinating the movements of its smaller counterparts. The Allied fleet pressed its advantage, pouring on a relentless barrage of fire. But just as victory seemed within reach, alarms blared across the command center. A technician's voice rang out, panic evident in their tone. "Sir, we're detecting another massive energy signature. It's another Alpha Devourer." Ryan's blood ran cold as he watched the tactical display update. A second gargantuan entity was approaching from a different sector, its size rivaling that of the first Alpha Devourer. "We need to split our forces," Ryan said, his mind racing to formulate a strategy. "Admiral Hawthorne, take half the fleet and engage the new threat. I'll coordinate the ongoing battle here." As the Admiral acknowledged the order and began redirecting ships, a new transmission cut through the chaos. It was Dr. Zarn, his holographic form materializing beside Ryan. "I've made a breakthrough," the scientist said, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in excitement. "The Devourers, they're not a natural phenomenon. They're the result of an ancient experiment gone wrong, a galactic terraforming project that evolved beyond control." Ryan absorbed this information, his mind already connecting the dots. "If they were created, they can be unmade," he mused. "Doctor, I need you to work on a way to reverse their transformation process. In the meantime, we need more firepower." As if on cue, Admiral Hawthorne's voice crackled over the comm. "Ryan, we've activated a hidden weapons cache on the asteroid ship. Prototype weapons, designed specifically for threats like the Alpha Devourers. But there's a catch. They require direct neural interfacing." Ryan's gaze fell on Elva and Zira, who had just finished distributing the antivirus. The girls' unique abilities made them the ideal candidates, but the risk. "We'll do it," Elva said, her mental voice resolute. Zira nodded in agreement. "All right," Ryan said, pushing down his concern. "But you'll be under constant supervision. Let's move." As Elva and Zira were escorted to the prototype weapons, Ryan turned his attention back to the battles raging on multiple fronts. The first Alpha Devourer was weakening, but its desperate counterattacks were becoming increasingly erratic and dangerous. The second Alpha Devourer, faced with the full might of half the Allied fleet, began absorbing nearby Devourer entities, growing in size and power. "Sir," Commander Vextera's voice cut through the chaos. "I have a plan. Let me lead a strike team into the second Alpha Devourer. We can plant antimatter charges at key points within its structure." Ryan hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks. "Do it," he finally said. "But be careful in there. We can't afford to lose you." As Vextera's team prepared for their daring mission, Ryan received an urgent transmission from Earth. His face paled as he listened to the report. A massive swarm of Devourers, larger than anything they had faced before, was approaching from beyond the galaxy's edge. In that moment, Ryan knew he faced the most difficult decision of his life. The Precursor Control Hub had the power to accelerate the transformation of all remaining planets in the galaxy, creating a final line of defense. But the cost would be immense, forever altering the face of every inhabited world. "Call an emergency council," Ryan ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision before him. "We need every allied species leader on this call. Now." As the holographic forms of leaders from across the galaxy began to materialize around him, Ryan took a deep breath. The battles against the two Alpha Devourers raged on in the background, a constant reminder of the threat they faced. But the true test was yet to come. Ryan looked around at the assembled leaders, each face a mix of fear, tenacity, and hope. "Leaders of the galaxy," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We face a threat unlike any we have ever encountered. The decisions we make in the next few hours will determine the fate of every living being in our galaxy. The council chamber fell silent, all eyes fixed on Ryan as he prepared to lay out their options. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking. Ticking. Ryan took a deep breath and began to outline the situation. The Devourer's swarm approaching from beyond our galaxy's edge is unlike anything we've faced before, he explained, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Our current defenses won't be enough. We have one option that might give us a fighting chance, but the cost. The cost is immense. Ryan detailed the plan to accelerate the transformation of all remaining planets in the galaxy using the precursor control hub. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some outraged, others desperate for any solution. "This is madness," shouted the Zentai representative, his form shimmering as it cycled through various shapes. "You're talking about fundamentally altering every world in the galaxy. And if we don't, there won't be a galaxy left to save," countered the Cronin leader, her stone-like features set in unyielding commitment. The debate raged on, each leader weighing the astronomical cost against the very real threat of extinction. Ryan stood firm, answering questions and addressing concerns as best he could. As the minutes ticked by, a somber realization settled over the council. Finally, the Earth representative spoke. "We don't have the luxury of time for further deliberation. I move to approve Ryan Young's plan." One by one, the leaders gave their reluctant assent. With a heavy heart, Ryan acknowledged their decision and ended the transmission. He turned to Admiral Hawthorne, who had been silently observing the proceedings. "Prepare the control hub," Ryan ordered, "and may whatever higher powers exist have mercy on us all." Ryan made his way to the heart of the mobile control hub, where Elva and Zero waited by the central console. Their expressions were a mix of anticipation and fear as Ryan approached. "It's time," he said simply. With trembling hands, Ryan initiated the full-scale transformation protocol. The console hummed to life, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Across the vast expanse of the galaxy, planets began to change. On countless worlds, panic spread as the very ground beneath people's feet started to shift. Mountains rose from plains, oceans reshaped coastlines, and gleaming structures of precursor design erupted from the Earth. The sky above each planet shimmered as advanced defense systems materialized, creating a protective cocoon around each transformed world. Ryan watched the galactic map, his heart heavy as reports flooded into the chaos unfolding on the affected planets. But there was no time to dwell on the consequences. The battles against the Alpha Devourers demanded his immediate attention. "Sir," a technician called out, "the first Alpha Devourer is showing signs of critical structural failure." On the main view screen, Ryan watched as the massive entity began to break apart under the relentless assault of the Allied fleet. Huge chunks of its biomechanical body scattered across space, some as large as small moons. All ships contained those fragments. Ryan ordered, "We can't risk any potential regeneration." As the fleet moved to secure the remnants of the first Alpha Devourer, a urgent transmission came through from Commander Vexterra. "Ryan, we've planted the charges." Her voice crackled over the comm. "But something's wrong. They're dash." The transmission cut off as a massive explosion tore through the second Alpha Devourer. The creature's massive form began to disintegrate from within, but there was no sign of Vexterra or her team. "No!" Ryan shouted, his mind racing. He turned to Elva and Zira, who were still interfaced with the prototype weapons. "Girls, I need you to create a stable wormhole inside that thing. Now!" The young women nodded in unison, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light as they channeled the immense power of the precursor technology. A shimmering portal appeared within the collapsing mass of the Alpha Devourer. "All available ships move in," Ryan commanded. "Find Vexterra and her team." Tense minutes passed as rescue ships darted in and out of the wormhole. Finally, A triumphant shout echoed across the command center. "We've got them!" Ryan allowed himself a moment of relief before turning his attention to the looming threat. The Devourer's swarm was approaching rapidly, a vast cloud of destruction visible even at this distance. "Move the lower planet into position," Ryan ordered, "and get me Admiral Hawthorne. We need to position our fleets." As the transformed planets activated their new defense systems, creating a vast network of energy shields and weapon platforms, Ryan coordinated with Hawthorne to arrange the Allied fleets along the swarm's projected path. Just as they finalized their strategy, an urgent message came through from Earth. Ryan's eyes widened as he listened to the report of a potential biological weapon against the Devourers. "This could change everything," he murmured. Raising his voice, he addressed the command center. "I want every available resource diverted to producing this new weapon. Coordinate with all transformed planets capable of assisting in its manufacture." As production facilities sprang into action across the galaxy, Ryan received alarming reports of geological instabilities on many of the transformed worlds. Massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions threatened billions of lives. "Deploy our engineering and scientific teams to the most critical locations," Ryan ordered, his voice strained. "Use whatever precursor tech we have available to stabilize those planets." The command center became a whirlwind of activity as Ryan juggled multiple crises at once. He directed rescue efforts, coordinated weapon production, and prepared for the impending arrival of the Devourer's swarm. As the first wave of Devourers entered the galaxy's outer regions, the lower planet activated. A significant portion of the swarm veered towards it, drawn by its irresistible energy signature. "This is it," Ryan said, his voice carrying across the command center. "All fleets, prepare to engage. Weapon platforms, stand by. Let's show these Devourers what happens when they mess with our galaxy." The transformed planets powered up their defense systems, creating a formidable barrier against the incoming threat. Allied ships moved into position, loaded with a newly developed biological weapon. Ryan stood at the heart of it all, ready to coordinate the largest and most crucial battle in the galaxy's history. As the Devourer's swarm drew ever closer, he knew that the next few hours would determine the fate of countless civilizations. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The first wave of Devourers crashed against the galaxy's outer defenses like a tide of destruction. Ryan watched from the command center as the lower planet activated, its energy signature pulsing across space. A significant portion of the swarm veered towards it, drawn by the irresistible bait. "It's working," Ryan breathed, allowing himself a moment of cautious optimism. "All defense systems, engage." Across the galaxy, transformed planets blazed alive. Massive energy shields flickered into existence, creating a formidable barrier against the incoming threat. Weapon platforms, their designs an otherworldly fusion of organic shapes and technological precision, unleashed barrages of precursor-enhanced weaponry. The void of space lit up with the fury of battle. Beams of concentrated energy tore through the smaller Devourer entities, leaving behind dissipating clouds of biomechanical debris. But for every Devourer destroyed, dozens more took its place. "Sir, the outer defense network is holding, but it's under immense strain," reported a technician, her voice tight with tension. Ryan nodded grimly. "Deploy the fleet. Admiral Hawthorne, you have tactical command of the task force carrying the biological weapon. Target the densest clusters of Devourers." "Understood." Hawthorne's voice crackled over the comm. "All ships, form up on my signal. We're going hunting." The Allied fleet moved with practiced precision, ships of various designs and origins united in purpose. Ryan watched as Hawthorne's task force engaged the enemy, unleashing salvos of the newly developed biological weapon. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Wherever the weapon struck, Devourers began to drift aimlessly, their once coordinated movements dissolving into chaos. Entire sections of the swarm became inert, creating gaps in the Devourer offensive. "It's working," Ryan said, allowing himself a small smile. "Keep pressing the attack." In another section of the command center, Elva and Zira remained connected to the precursor prototype weapons. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as they processed vast amounts of data, predicting Devourer attack patterns with uncanny accuracy. "Incoming cluster, Sector 7. Elva's voice rang out, strained but clear. "Redirect fire from platforms 12 through 15. Ryan relayed the order, watching as the weapon platforms adjusted their aim. A massive group of Devourers, attempting to exploit a perceived weakness in the defensive line, flew directly into a wall of concentrated fire. But even as the Allied forces scored victories, the true scale of the threat became apparent. Wave after wave of Devourers continued to pour into the galaxy, their numbers seemingly endless. "Sir," a communications officer called out, her face pale. "We're receiving distress calls from several core worlds. Devourer entities have broken through the outer defenses." Ryan's heart sank. He knew this moment might come, but the reality of it was no less devastating. "Redirect the 3rd and 5th fleets to reinforce those systems," he ordered. "We can't let them fall." As he made the difficult decision to pull resources from the front lines, a familiar voice caught his attention. "Ryan," Commander Vexterra said, her holographic form materializing before him. "I have a proposal. Let me lead a strike force deep into the heart of the swarm. We can deploy a modified version of the biological weapon directly into their largest concentration." Ryan hesitated, weighing the risks. Vexterra had just barely survived her last high-risk mission. But as he looked at the tactical displays, showing the relentless advance of the Devourers, he knew they needed to take bold action. "Approved," he said finally. "But be careful in there. We can't afford to lose you." Vexterra nodded, her expression resolute. "We won't fail." As Vexterra's team prepared for their perilous mission, reports of geological instabilities on the transformed planets flooded in. The strain of maintaining the massive defensive systems was taking its toll. "Earthquake on Novus Prime," shouted an analyst. "Volcanic activity increasing on Taros 3. Ryan's mind raced, trying to juggle the multiple crises unfolding simultaneously. "Deploy all available engineering and scientific teams to the most critical locations," he ordered, "and begin large-scale evacuations where necessary." He turned to another officer. "Convert our largest space stations into temporary shelters. We need to move millions of beings across star systems, and we need to do it now." As the battle entered its second day, fatigue began to set in. Ryan implemented a complex shift system, ensuring fresh crews were always on duty. But he knew they were in a race against time. From Earth came a glimmer of hope. Human scientists had developed a more potent strain of the biological weapon, one that could spread more rapidly through the Devourer swarm. "Get it into production immediately," Ryan ordered, "and distribute it to the front lines as fast as possible." As he coordinated the defense of the core worlds and managed the ongoing evacuations, Ryan received an urgent transmission from Vexterra's strike force. "Ryan," her voice crackled through the static, "we've penetrated deep into the swarm, but we've encountered something new. Larger Devourers, more intelligent. They seem to be coordinating the others." Ryan leaned forward, his mind racing with the implications. "Tactician Devourers," he murmured. "Vexterra, listen closely. Those entities might be the key to this entire conflict. If we can take them out, we might be able to throw the whole swarm into disarray." "Understood," Vexterra replied. "We're moving to engage now." Ryan turned to his command staff. "Redirect additional support to Vexterra's team. I want our best ships equipped with the latest version of the biological weapon backing her up." As the orders went out, Ryan stood at the heart of the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing battles raging across the galaxy. The fate of countless civilizations hung in the balance, and the conflict was about to enter its most crucial phase. Just then, Vextera's voice crackled through the comm system, her words igniting a spark of hope in Ryan's chest. "Ryan, we've deployed the latest version of the biological weapon," she reported, her voice strained but triumphant. "The effect on the tactician devourers is remarkable." Ryan leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. The swarm's coordinated movements began to falter, breaking apart into chaotic, disorganized clusters. "All Allied forces, this is our chance," Ryan announced, his voice carrying across the command network. "Concentrate fire on the disorganized sectors. Hit them hard and fast." The transformed planets unleashed their full arsenal, energy beams lancing through space to strike at the heart of the Devourer swarm. Allied ships darted between the larger entities, their weapons tearing through the biomechanical bodies with surgical precision. As millions of Devourer entities were reduced to drifting debris, Ryan allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. But the feeling was short-lived as alarms blared across the command center. "Sir, we're detecting a massive energy surge from the Lure planet," a technician shouted, her fingers flying across the control panel. "The precursor systems are destabilizing." Ryan's mind raced, quickly assessing the situation. The Lure planet, overtaxed by the constant Devourer assaults, was on the verge of a catastrophic meltdown. Its destruction could damage nearby star systems and Allied forces, potentially undoing their hard-won progress. "Evacuate all personnel from the Lure planet immediately," Ryan ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. He turned to Dr. Zarn, who had been monitoring the planet systems. "Doctor, I need options. Can we contain this?" The scientist's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "Contain it? No, but we might be able to use it." As Dr. Zarn outlined his plan, Ryan nodded, a grim smile forming on his face. "Do it. Redirect the planet's energy into an electromagnetic pulse. Let's turn this crisis into a weapon." While preparations for this high-stakes endeavor began, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Evacuation fleets, carrying millions of civilians from destabilized transformed planets, were encountering pockets of Devourer resistance. "Divert the 7th and 9th fleets to escort the civilian transports," Ryan commanded, knowing the decision would leave parts of their defensive line vulnerable. "We can't afford to lose those people." In the midst of the chaos, Elva's voice cut through the noise. "Ryan, the Devourers are adapting," she said, her eyes still glowing with the light of the precursor interface. "The tacticians are developing resistance to the biological weapon." Ryan's expression resolute. They couldn't afford to lose their primary advantage. "Initiate a galaxy-wide search for any remaining precursor caches," he ordered. "We need more powerful weapons, and we need them now." As specialized scout teams deployed to ancient ruins and deep space anomalies, Ryan received a transmission from Admiral Hawthorne. The grizzled veteran's face appeared on screen, a rare smile crossing his features. "Young, we've broken through," Hawthorne reported. "The counteroffensive was successful. We've pushed the Devourers back from the Centauri cluster." The news sent a wave of renewed energy through the command center. But Ryan knew they couldn't afford to celebrate yet. The Lure planet was reaching critical mass, and everything hinged on the next few moments. "All Allied forces, pull back from the Lure planet's vicinity," Ryan commanded. "Create a clear path for the Devourers to approach." As the Allied ships retreated, the Devourer swarm surged forward, sensing an opportunity to destroy a key defensive asset. Ryan watched the tactical display, his hand hovering over the activation switch. "Now," he whispered, initiating the energy pulse sequence. The Lure planet's surface crackled with energy, arcs of lightning dancing across its atmosphere. Then, in a blinding flash, an enormous electromagnetic pulse erupted outward, engulfing the surrounding space. The pulse tore through the concentrated devourer forces, leaving them drifting and defenseless. Ryan didn't hesitate. All forces engage. Hit them with everything we've got. The transformed planets, allied fleets, and precursor weapons unleashed a devastating barrage. Devourer entities exploded into fragments, their once fearsome swarm reduced to scattered remnants. As the tide of battle turned decisively in their favor, Ryan allowed himself a moment of hope. But that hope was short-lived as a technician's panicked voice cut through the command center. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting something. Massive. It's bigger than anything we've encountered before." Ryan's blood ran cold as he looked at the sensor readings. Emerging from the depths of space was an entity that dwarfed even the Alpha Devourers. Its presence seemed to resonate across the galaxy, a palpable aura of malevolence and hunger. "The Omega Devourer," Ryan breathed, instinctively knowing that this colossal being was the central intelligence behind the entire invasion. As the monstrous entity approached, Ryan's mind raced. This was both their greatest threat and their final opportunity. If they could defeat this Omega Devourer, they might end the conflict once and for all. "All forces, prepare for our final stand," Ryan announced, his voice carrying across the galactic communication network. "This is the moment that decides the fate of our galaxy. Let's show this Omega Devourer what we're made of." As the Allied forces rallied for this ultimate confrontation, Ryan began formulating a plan. The Omega Devourer loomed before them, a challenge unlike any they had faced before. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and everything hung in the balance. And the Allied forces stood ready to face their greatest challenge yet. The Omega Devourer's arrival sent shockwaves through the Allied fleet. Its sheer size dwarfed even the largest capital ships, casting an ominous shadow across the battlefield. Ryan's voice, steady and resolute, echoed through the galactic communication network. "This is Admiral Ryan Young to all Allied forces. The enemy has revealed its true form. Every ship, every weapon, every being who can fight, we need you now. This is our moment, the culmination of all our efforts. Together, we will end this threat once and for all." As the call to arms spread across the galaxy, Ryan turned to his command staff. "Prepare our most advanced precursor vessel. Elva, Zira, you're with me." The girls nodded, their eyes shining with tenacity. As they boarded the sleek, alien craft, Ryan felt a mix of pride and concern. These two had come so far, from helpless refugees to key players in the future of the cosmos. The precursor ship hummed to life, its systems responding to their touch as if alive. As they approached the Omega Devourer, the true scale of the entity became apparent. It pulsed with malevolent energy, its surface a writhing mass of biomechanical tendrils and organic armor. "By the stars," Elva whispered, her voice filled with awe and fear. Ryan gripped the controls tightly. "Stay focused. We've come too far to falter now." The final battle erupted in a dazzling display of firepower. Thousands of ships from countless species unleashed their weapons, while the transformed planets directed their full defensive capabilities at the Omega Devourer. Energy beams, missiles, and exotic weaponry illuminated space, creating a lethal light show. Despite the overwhelming barrage, the Omega Devourer's outer shell remained largely intact. It retaliated with devastating counterattacks, swatting ships aside and absorbing entire squadrons into its mass. "This isn't working," Ryan muttered, his mind racing for a solution. Suddenly, Elva and Zira gasped in unison. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as they established a deeper connection with the precursor ship systems. "Ryan," Elva said, her voice overlaid with a strange resonance. "We've detected something. A weakness." Zira continued. "There's a central core, deep within the entity. It's the source of its consciousness, its control over the swarm." Ryan leaned forward, hope rekindling in his chest. "Can we reach it?" The girls exchanged a look before nodding. Yes, but it won't be easy. The Omega Devourer's internal defenses are formidable. Ryan's mind worked quickly, formulating a plan. He opened a channel to Admiral Hawthorne. Admiral, I need you to lead a massive diversionary attack. Draw the Devourer's attention while we attempt to breach its outer layers. Hawthorne's grizzled face appeared on the screen, a grim smile on his lips. Consider it done, young. Give him hell. As Hawthorne's forces engaged the Omega Devourer head-on, Ryan assembled an elite squadron to accompany their precursor ship. Among them was Commander Vexterra, her strike team ready for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Vexterra, we'll need you to clear a path for us, Ryan instructed. Once we're inside, hold the breach point open as long as you can. The Cellori commander nodded, her eyes gleaming with fierce willpower. We won't let you down, Ryan. With a deep breath, Ryan gave the order to advance. Their small fleet darted towards the Omega Devourer, weaving through the chaos of the larger battle. As they neared the entity's surface, its defenses intensified. Beams of corrosive energy lashed out, while swarms of smaller devourers moved to intercept them. Vexterra's team sprang into action, their ships dancing through the maelstrom with incredible precision. They carved a path through the devourer forces, creating a narrow corridor for Ryan's ship to follow. Now! Ryan shouted, pushing the precursor vessel to its limits. They plunged into the breach. The ships advanced, shielding barely holding against the onslaught of the Omega Devourer's internal defenses. As they penetrated deeper, the environment around them became increasingly hostile and alien. Inside the Omega Devourer, reality seemed to warp and twist. The ship's sensors struggled to make sense of their surroundings, while the internal atmosphere attacked their hull with corrosive agents and electromagnetic pulses. Shields at 60% and falling, Zero reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Ryan gritted his teeth, maneuvering the ship through a maze of pulsating corridors and chambers. Highly evolved devourer entities, acting as internal guardians, swarmed towards them. Each one was a unique horror, adapted specifically to defend the Omega Devourer's inner sanctum. As they fought their way closer to the core, the resistance grew fiercer. The ship's systems began to falter under the constant assault. Alarms blared as critical systems approached failure. Ryan, Elva called out, her voice strained, we can't keep this up much longer. The core is still out of reach. For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm Ryan. They had come so far, risked everything, and still, it might not be enough. Then, he saw the look that passed between Elva and Zira, and his heart sank even further. We have an idea, Zira said, her eyes meeting Ryan's. But it's dangerous. Elva continued. We can use our enhanced abilities to interface directly with the Omega Devourer's consciousness. If we can disrupt its control over the swarm from within. Ryan's protective instincts flared. No, absolutely not. It's too risky. It's our only chance, Elva insisted. You have to trust us, Ryan. We can do this. Looking at the girls he had come to see as his daughters, Ryan felt a mixture of fear and pride. They had grown so much, become so strong. With a heavy heart, he nodded. All right, but I'll be right here, protecting you. Come back to me, you hear? Elva and Zira smiled, then closed their eyes, their minds reaching out to merge with the vast, alien intelligence of the Omega Devourer. As they entered this mental battlefield, Ryan took control of the ship's weapons, ready to defend their physical bodies against whatever threats might come. The next few minutes were a nightmare of combat and tension. Ryan fought off wave after wave of guardian entities, using every trick and technology at his disposal. All the while, he watched Elva and Zira's faces contort with effort and pain as they waged their unseen battle. Suddenly, the entire structure around them shuddered. The Omega Devourer convulsed, its hold on itself and its minions weakening. Elva and Zira's eyes snapped open, filled with triumph and exhaustion. "Now, Ryan!" Zira shouted. "The core is exposed." Without hesitation, Ryan piloted their ship towards the newly revealed weak point. As they approached, he readied the most powerful version of the biological weapon they had developed. "Here goes everything," he muttered and fired. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Omega Devourer's consciousness began to disintegrate, its vast body contorting in cosmic agony. Ryan wasted no time, scooping up the exhausted Elva and Zira and plotting an escape course. As they fled the collapsing entity, they witnessed the Devourer's swarm breaking apart. Individual units drifted aimlessly or turned on each other, their controlling intelligence gone. Ryan opened a channel to the Allied fleet. "All forces, this is Admiral Young. The Omega Devourer is neutralized. I repeat, the Omega Devourer is neutralized. Commence final mop-up operations." As the Allies launched their final assault against the remaining Devourer resistance, Ryan looked at Elva and Zira, who were leaning against each other, smiling weakly but triumphantly. "You did it," he said softly, his voice filled with pride and love. "You saved us all." Elva reached out, taking Ryan's hand. "We did it together, as a family." As their ship rejoined the Allied fleet, the realization began to sink in. They had won. The galaxy was safe. And somehow, against impossible odds, they had survived to see it. The precursor vessel's communication system lit up with incoming transmissions from across the galaxy. Leaders, soldiers, and civilians alike were clamoring to speak with the heroes who had turned the tide. Ryan knew that the coming days would be filled with debriefings, ceremonies, and the monumental task of rebuilding. But for now, as stars streaked past their view screen and the cheers of victory echoed through the ship, Ryan simply held his daughters close, grateful for the unconventional family he had found amidst the chaos of war.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.